want some waffles because they're really good with syrup and stuff. That's not how the song goes. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Good morning. Happy Festivus. Happy holidays.
You know, Arab Christians give the greeting, Eid el-Milad Mubarak. So Milad means nativity, birth. So the holiday of the nativity blessings. So I just gave it to you even in that way. Okay.
And that is much appreciated. Everyone, Merry Christmas. And thanks everyone for being here. We are a whooping of less than 100, which I think is like a record. We jumped to 120.
So that's glad you made me be here, Andre.
Yeah, I'm so well. Of course, I mean, I'm very happy with this. Since we started Midnight Edge in the morning, we haven't missed a single day, and we're not about to start now. And I just had to rush home from festivities myself, but we made it just in time. So with that, everyone, hope that you have a very Merry Christmas, God Yule, seasonal greetings, all of that jazz. And for those that are here, we're so happy to have you here with us. And as you can see, we are joined by the amazing seer, Kamran Pasha. How's it going?
I'm half seer right now because I didn't get enough sleep last night. There was a major thunderstorm in LA, which is unusual, and there was such a huge thunderclap at 5 a.m. that it woke up the neighborhood and had all the car alarms go off. Right, so I'm like, didn't get much sleep. So.
Oh, sorry to hear that. But,
that happened in my neighborhood too.
I'm so happy that you still woke up to be here with us. That's most appreciated. And we're also joined by the lovely
This walks right over my joke.
This way, yes.
Yeah. And in the chat, we have Mr. Tom Konkle, who says, Merry Christmas all. I'm grateful for Andre and Tom C. and Midnight Edge, and everyone in the audience and chat. So, well, thank you. And Tom, you know what? That's like Tom to Mr. Konkle. If you have the opportunity to hop in and join us, you would, of course, be most welcome. Of course, if you're busy, I understand. But I'm going to send the link so that if you have the opportunity, you can hop in.
I say I already had it, but okay. So, yeah, hello and Merry Christmas, Tom. Hopefully you're doing well. Did we have any super chats to begin with at all?
I don't know. I
didn't see any
check yet because I literally, as those of you who are just joining and checking in, I only came like 2 minutes ago, and before we have to go in live ourselves. So, but I'm gonna check. I'm gonna go and look behind. Oh, we have one here right now. From STR Red Wolf, who says, Hail Andre, Tom, and Kamran. We can now ask all the most important question. Who drank all the eggnog?
I did, and it was spiked.
So I understand you can make eggnog without alcohol, but
yes, you can, but it's pointless of doing that.
It's like drinking non-alcoholic beer because you're just basically drinking piss then without getting a buzz. Okay,
you're all wrong. It was Lana Wachowski.
So yeah, I will, without naming, a friend of mine who is very well-known screenwriter and generally a very laid-back guy sent me a message DM last night saying, I just saw The Matrix Resurrections. I hate it. I'm so angry. It's made me hate the first movie. And this is a very extreme reaction from a generally laid-back guy. So I don't know if
did you see Tim Pool's reaction?
No.
Because according to him, the movie has a quite conservative subtext and it's anti-leftist.
Maybe that's why my liberal Hollywood friend didn't like it.
I haven't seen it, but just because of that, I'm curious to see it myself now.
All I know is I've seen it too, but last night we were talking about it, and we got to a point where we were really starting to question a lot of things in the film because we all kind of came to agreement that even though there's woke elements to it, the movie itself isn't woke per se. And even though you can compare it to things like The Force Awakens, it still doesn't do such atrocious things to its characters that movie did per se and beyond. But it's still just kind of like a limp noodle either way. And even if there is this subtext that's there, like everybody was kind of unanimous last night that they weren't going to watch it again regardless. So like it was kind of lost on a lot of people the first time around, if there was. But not to get into spoilers right off the bat. Not that there's too much to spoil, but yeah, there's some subtext there, but you'd have to really kind of dig around for it and stuff. And
I'm good at
there's
that.
some other stuff that is kind of there that isn't. Like you don't have to dig around for it. It's like right on the surface. And
that can sometimes be misleading. That can sometimes the really, like for instance, when you have a world that's filled with censorship, what you do to get around this is like lesson from history. Kamran knows all about this. You have what appears to be a crystal clear message on the surface, but then underneath it in the subtext you have something that makes it clear that you're actually doing the complete opposite thing. This was how like your writers have gotten through. Certainly during World War II and stuff in Norway, that's what the Norwegian authors who did short stories and stuff like that, that's what they did. They wrote stories that looked like propaganda at first glance, but in the subtext, read them a little bit more carefully, and you'll see that, whoa, this is a complete subversion.
Well, Iranian movies do that. And I know, the Iranians have an incredible cinema, right? They consistently get up for Oscars. The Iranian culture is very artistic. And so, obviously you can imagine most Iranian artists are not particularly conservative, religious fundamentalists like the government is, right? And so,
no, on the contrary, the Iranians that I have met in Norway, of course, they are the ones that fled, but they're super cool, chill, liberal people, kind of people that sexually more liberated than many of them are supposed to be, probably. But
but they're artists, they're filmmakers as a result. They do these incredible films. They're often critiques of society and of government and all this stuff, but they've mastered the art of doing it through subtext. A lot of these films are about children, and so you can see dynamics of society through the eyes of children, and then it's hard to criticize that, right? And so, again, it's just Iranian culture is incredible, and yes, and there's quite a few lovely Iranian women here in LA, but they don't generally date Pakistanis because they see us as an inferior. Yeah, because they see us as their inferior next door cousin.
That's terrible.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
you built the Taj Mahal. They didn't build the Taj Mahal.
Yeah. The divisions in Southeast Asia are fascinating when you look into it from an outside perspective. But yeah,
gentlemen, I have to say I saw The Matrix last night, and I think that what they were trying to achieve is what Spider-Man achieved. They were trying to go for that. But the problem for me personally was that I didn't find that the two main characters had any growth since let's say, Matrixes 1 through 3. There wasn't that extra something that tied it together necessarily. Matrixes 1 through 3. There wasn't. Who's hello?
Yeah, we're getting an echo from somewhere in here.
I hope it's not me. But I was very surprised that there wasn't that extra something there. And I'm not even quite sure whether, they are aware of it. It's a nice film. It's a nice film, but it didn't have that groundbreaking feeling that the first film had because there was no growth. It was more of a, well, let's get back together again kind of feeling. And it was okay, but it didn't blow me away like the first one did. And they wouldn't have had to have done any crazy stunts or anything like that. I just needed some sort of substance to hold on to that would have brought me there. And it didn't. So, that's all I'm really going to say about it without bringing in too much of a spoiler.
Yeah, and we don't want to spoil anything. For those that come in for a Christmas celebration with nothing, we're not going to randomly spoil it, so don't worry about it. But yeah, no, that's a shame, because if Tim Pool is right, and it does have this subversive to wokest culture message, then it's a shame that as a standalone movie, it didn't really deliver on that. We have a couple more super chats I want to get through here real quick. Munchkin says for £10. Hello, Andre, Tom, Kamran, and what one Christmas movie is compulsory viewing for you every year? Also, have you watched Fat Man? Mel Gibson as a grizzled, gnarly Santa. It's smashing.
For me, it's Die Hard and will always be Die Hard.
So, woman of taste. Seen Fat Man?
I have not. Do you recommend
Kamran?
it?
Yeah, we'll get into that. Kamran, I saw that you also have not seen Fat Man, but if you have a Christmas movie, well, it's a very obscure movie, Tom. You can't expect
Not really.
everyone to have
Last
seen
year,
it.
I talked about it like every show.
Yeah, I know, but you had to watch every show to get a hold of that. We can't expect everyone to have done that. But anyway, Kamran, do you have like a quintessential Christmas movie?
When I was a kid, it was various versions of A Christmas Carol. Like I went through an obsession where I would watch every single version from the very old classic ones, black and white, to George C. Scott and all of that. It was nowadays, but for me, if you want to do annually, I think it's always going to be It's a Wonderful Life. It's a Wonderful Life.
That's a good choice.
Yeah, because it really is a Christmas movie. It's about, if you think about the multiverse, It's a Wonderful Life introduced the idea, right? Of alternative realities and what could have been, and and it also has some extremely lovely ladies like Donna Reed and a few others. So yes, I've watched it.
That also always helps. Tom, quintessential Christmas movie, or is it Fat Man?
No, I love Fat Man. I can recommend it highly. Other than that, though, like I love It's a Wonderful Life. That's one I generally watch just about every year. I generally pick at least one version of the Christmas Carol. If not, I generally go to the Muppet Christmas Carol. But I do love like the Albert Finney and a few of the other versions of it. They're pretty good. Outside of that, I generally don't miss watching. Like I always watch the animated Grinch, classic, Rudolph generally. Try to get in like Home Alone, Die Hard, Gremlins, stuff like that, But try to get as many of the normie stuff in as I can. But I don't have one that I can overly recommend right off the bat or anything like that hasn't already been mentioned.
And to me, it's Dinner for One. That's a relatively short skit, but it's absolutely quintessential Christmas for me and most other Norwegians. And to the Norwegians listening that go, Dinner for One, what the hell is that? Well, that is the international title for what we know as Grevinnen og Hovmesteren. That's Dinner for One to everyone internationally. Okay. Also internationally, it's broadcast in multiple European countries every single year on New Year's Eve. But for reasons that are unfathomable to anyone, Norway, of course, has to be the exception there too. So here it's broadcast every single 23rd of December. So to me, that's like the quintessential Christmas thing. I highly recommend it. You should be able to find it for free on YouTube. It's an old black and white skit, maybe 20 minutes long, something along those lines. Absolutely smashing fantastic. It's like an old countess, and she's old and ancient, and all her friends are dead, but she can't admit that. So her manservant has prepared dinner with all the imaginary guests.
Wow!
And he acts them out, including the role of her lover towards the end of it. So,
wow!
It's highly recommended. So if you haven't seen it, Dinner for One. And also Fat Man is freaking fantastic. I agree with Tom here. Yeah, we couldn't shut up about it. Mr. H couldn't shut up about it. But beyond that, if you didn't watch any of us, you might have missed it because it didn't get nearly the kind of attention that it deserved. Yeah, it's Mel Gibson as a really grizzled, angry old Santa Claus, and then you have a hitman that's trying to kill him, played by none other than the great Walton Goggins, one of my absolute favorite actors. So can't recommend Fat Man quite enough. And then a comment here, Isildur Spain says, guys, did you see that Amy Pascal threw a sandwich at Kevin Feige when he suggested Spider-Man join the MCU? Not only did we see it, we saw it years ago, and we even have an animated sequence of it. I don't recall exactly which video. It's one of our older Spider-Man videos, but there Tom actually did an animation of Amy Pascal throwing the sandwich at Kevin Feige. So yes, if you've seen our older Spider-Man coverage, this would be no news to you. You are quite aware of it. And Sandy Q says for $20, thank you. Merry Christmas and all good things of the season to all. Thanks, Tom, Andre, Kamran, and the lovely for the great content all year long. Love you. Oh, well, thank you. We couldn't do what we do without you. So, and again, I would also like to say thanks to everyone here on this panel. Thank you, Tom, for doing all the editing and all the late night shifts and early morning shifts and everything like that.
Yeah.
Coming up, thank you for waking up this time. I know that's a big ask, and thanks for being part of the community. And
thanks for bringing the feminine energy here. You know, I've been demanding it for so long, and you come and you're a lovely representative of that energy. So
thank you so much, gentlemen. It's such a pleasure to be with you here on Fridays. I enjoy it so very much.
Yeah. And the lovely Sherry says, Assalam to Kamran Pasha, which I trust must be some kind of season greeting. So.
Yeah, it's the shorter version of Assalamu alaikum, peace. So welcome.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it looked something like that. With a nice little snowman and everything. So that's nice. And then my countryman, Jace Fox, says for 22 Norwegian krona, God Jul / Happy Christmas, and hail to you, my good friends. Indeed, hail one, hail all. And Spider Unlimited says for $19.99, thank you so much. Merry Christmas to all those in the Midnight's Edge community. Another year down. Kamran gifted your books to a bunch of people who love good original content. Matrix sucks. Spider-Man before dinner today.
Well, thank you. That means a great deal to me. You know, I've written on my Patreon about how when my books were first published with Simon & Schuster, there was actually an organized effort to make sure they got no publicity. I wrote about it at length because I talked to a New York Times reporter that tried to write about them, and his editor wouldn't let him. Right? It was really shocking. And despite that, the books consistently spread through word of mouth, and it means a lot to me that you're helping. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and we have Slimer Snarf in the chat. Hey, how are you? Hope everything is all right. And Slimer says, Merry Christmas, Midnight's Edge. Well, thank you, and Merry Christmas to you, Slimer. Bert says for $5, Merry Christmas, everyone. I love the ambient electronic theme you introduced this year. What is the panel's opinion of the return of the Iger rumors? Yeah, well, rumors is really pushing that hard. That's actually planted BS story becoming rumors. Come on, what say you of the Iger return rumors?
Well,
where is that from?
Well, I wrote about this on my Patreon the moment I saw these things started appearing on CNBC. I agree; they're not even rumors. They are salty people who are invested in Iger's sting, the club as I call them, who are upset that he really is out. I mean, it's like it's over. He's not, and so they have to put this idea in people's heads. And again,
I have the source right here. I'm going to bring it up, Tom, can you bring it up on screen? I'm going to put it in the private chat.
CNBC,
here is the source of it. This is not a rumor, ladies and gentlemen. There's no rumor.
There's some guy saying this is what I predict.
Yeah,
and
it's a prediction,
and it's not a rational prediction because there's no basis for it. Again, purely economically, not what I wish or what I prefer. The simple fact is this gentleman is out. He has really been of declining power in the last 6 months. That's become very publicly visible as Mr. Chapek finally is allowed to do the job that he was chosen to do a year and a half ago. And with the arrival of Ms. Susan Arnold, again, as I've stated my opinion, they are not friends. Ms. Arnold has been there before he packed the board with his buddies, right? So she's seen how he's run things, and there's no reason for her to remove Mr. Chapek and put this guy who, in my opinion, ran Disney into the ground in the last several years. All he did was massively increase debt, fumbled everything he was given, but he's very good at PR, and which is what this is. This is a PR effort. This is him. This is a guy that deluded himself he could run for president, right? And now he's like trying to get his last hurrah that I'll be back. It's a little delusional, and this is his friends trying to prop his reputation up. But he's off in the sunset. There's no political will inside of Disney to bring this guy back, especially after, the people look at what the coffers are. They look at how he's, he didn't, in the more than 10 years he was there, he didn't produce anything really new. All he did was, let's remake Cinderella. Let's remake The Lion King and make it live action. He drained their creative well dry. He actually set the company back tremendously. And, you know, the one thing that was interesting is the CFO, Christine McCarthy, was renewed early and very publicly so, unlike certain other allegedly powerful woman who to this day we still have no confirmation about her fate. She was very publicly renewed a few days ago, 6 months in advance of the end of her contract. And she's a CFO, so she's the money lady. So we're seeing the money people are becoming advanced here. This gentleman messed up the money. That's my opinion. I think the odds of him returning are less than 1%. I don't think there's anyone out there that wants that within the system.
Yeah, and again, just to reiterate the point, it's not a rumor that he's returning. It's no speculation from insiders. This is CNBC, all right? So there you have the slant right away. And they reached out to 10 media executives under the cloak of anonymity, so they don't even have to say anything, stand by their predictions in any way, shape, or form. And they just give some prediction of what they think is going to happen next year. Now, some of those predictions are fairly likely to happen, such as Viacom CBS being sold off, stuff like that. And others are a little bit like, if you were a betting man, the odds on you'll be winning a lot if this happens, let's put it this way, because this is not a rumor. This is just like one guy thinking, I really want this story out there, and this is a great venue for it. So this is not a rumor. Not at all a rumor. And then we have our good friend Stephanie Janishek Smuggler Cantina, who says, happy ho, ho, ho. How do I do that? But yeah. And then we have our very good friend Mike, the Mexican Iron Man. And Mike, if you have the opportunity to jump in, you are, of course, always welcome. And he says, Assalamu alaikum and Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to my brothers Andre, Tom, and Habib Kamran, and Sis
Mikey.
Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to all in chat. Yes, indeed. And I would also like to say to Mike and everyone else who either is of Spanish, Mexican, Latin American, or other Spanish-speaking descent, Feliz Navidad.
Feliz Navidad. And Mike, I understand they're going to be in Los Angeles. If you're not already here now, please drop me a text. Let's get together if you're in the area.
Yeah. And Christian Coralejo also says, I heard a rumor that Bob Chapek could be fired and Bob Iger could be reinstalled at Disney if the Star Wars Hotel fails. Does this have any validity? See previous answer, and there you have the source of it. The Star Wars Hotel is not Bob Chapek's brainchild, at least not as far as I'm aware. So I don't think that he is going to be held responsible for that in any way, shape, or
Again,
form.
remember, these things we're talking about, things like the Star Wars Hotel, all this stuff, were years in the process. These are not things that were greenlit 6 months ago and suddenly by Bob Chapek, here's a good idea, let's make this dumb looking hotel, that isn't really Star Wars. This is something that's years in the process. And so who was in charge years ago when this process began? That's all.
Yeah. So yeah, no. It doesn't work that way. Bob Iger or Kathleen Kennedy can't initiate this stupid thing under Bob Iger, and then it fails, and they bring Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy back for it. It doesn't work quite that way. But I see why people are concerned, but don't worry about that just yet. And if that were to happen, I'm sure we'll get some kind of early warning on it, and we'll be here to cover it all. Deleted Scenes says, Hail Andre, Tom, Kamran, mods, and chat. Merry Christmas to everyone. Thank you, Midnight Edge, for helping me get through the year. Absolutely. I mean, that's what we're here for. Well, that may not be what we're here for, but if we can do that as well, nothing is better than that. We so appreciate hearing that we have provided some kind of positive change in people's lives, or just been like something rational and stable to hold on to as the world seemingly goes down the drain around them.
Well,
So
let me say that's what makes this channel so special because, it's been in the last couple of years, we've seen YouTube has become a real phenomenon, right? It's become a real thing, a thing that Hollywood pays attention to. But the reality is Midnight's Edge is a special channel because it's actually real analysis without the emotion. A lot of channels are getting their clicks from agitating people, or you're screaming about things like, is Bob Iger going to come back? Is Bob Chapek going to be fired over this hotel? This channel focuses on the economics, and when something happens that's unexpected, they focus on the economics of that rather than the emotions of it, and that's the way it should be, and that's why I think this channel is special.
Well, thank you, and also thank you to everyone who's out there, and please, everyone, if you're here, smash that like, help share this stream to help spread the word, because that really helps, because the algorithm is quite so in letting people know that that we are alive right now. So every little share and like really does help out. And then we have Duke Dresden, who says for 20 Australian dollars, Merry Christmas from Gulag, Australia.
Well, he's Australian. They'll acknowledge it. Most of my Australian friends I don't know what you're talking about. This is the freest country on earth. Only the bad people are being put away in concentration camps. What are you talking about? so that's what I hear from my Australian friends.
Yeah, well, but I do love when one has the humor about it, and I hope that someone will liberate Australia at some point from the gulag.
Well, the people
but anyway,
he
continues to say such a mixed bag this year, but we have the Northman to look forward to. Yes, Andre, if you could shed some light on its origin, that would be appreciated. Yeah, it's coming. You know what? I've been flooded with requests to do something on the Northman. The message has been received, researching it right now, and we will do some great coverage on the Northman between now and the movie's release. So yeah, and I also think the movie looks fantastic, and I'm greatly looking forward to it. So that's going to be cool, and I look forward to covering that. We have a few more videos that I have to get into first, but I absolutely look forward to really digging into that. Then we have another countryman of mine, Paris Plain, who says for 200 Norwegian krona, saying, the Ghostbusters is a modern retelling of the Three Musketeers. Winston Zeddemore and D'Artagnan seeks out to become the fourth Ghostbuster and Musketeer. The fresh new blood must flow. For the glory of the group, Merry Christmas. It's a very interesting observation. I think that D'Artagnan had to fight a little bit more than Winston Zeddemore, where it was like, oh, you want a job, you're hired.
Yeah.
But I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, and it's an interesting analogy because Winston has always been the average man perspective into that. I mean, the other three are kind of crazy, right? And they're in their own world. And the movie would not have worked without Winston because he's us, right?
He's the best character in many ways.
Absolutely. And it's interesting to think that the ghosts are Cardinal Richelieu, right? As an adversary, that it goes to the Gozerian is the cardinal. That's very interesting.
That actually is a really cool point of view. Yeah. And Marigo Ann says for £5, so far I've been recommending Arthur Christmas a lot online as an antidote to Santa Inc., which is supposedly about entitlement and narcissism. Oh, if that's what it's about, then you shouldn't have narcissists trying to make programs about narcissism because they project and they can't really see themselves, can they?
Well, but in my experience, having worked with quite a few narcissists in Hollywood, their entire MO is projection. Everything they say about everyone else is themselves. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Yeah. So it's so fascinating. It's like, and just like the lack of self-awareness, unbelievable. But yeah. And Diego Flores of Midnight's Edge Espanol fame says for 5 Peruvian souls, guys, the only answer is Lord of the Rings and Die Hard 1. Yeah, I will always have like Lord of the Rings Christmas memories, seeing as, they were released 3 years in a row around Christmas time. So I can't blame you for that. And also other Other Christmas movie suggestions: My Dinner with Andre. That's not a bad one.
Okay.
A Charlie Brown Christmas, Call Me a Normie. That's a really good one, Dragon Master. That's a good one.
Yeah.
And David Walker says, mine is Discworld's Hogfather, because of death, of course.
Okay.
Now, yeah, that's like a Discworld animated special. They did a couple of animated, and death was played by, was it Christopher Lee? I haven't seen them, but I know that it was a really prolific actor who played Death in the Discworld animated series. I want to say it was Christopher Lee, but I could be wrong. But let's know in the comments. Let's know in the comments who it was, and someone else highlighted, because I'm further behind right now on the super chats. Then let's see what else we have here before we start getting into the topics. James T. Whalen says, this has become my absolute favorite channel. Thanks for the great year. Oh, thank you. Well, we do try our best, and we have so many cool videos coming for you soon. I'm really good. Like, I hope you like He-Man. Let's put it that way, because we have some cool stuff coming to that end. And Six also says, speaking of smashing, smash the like button. Indeed, do that. Roger H says, for $2 Canadian, hey guys, Merry Christmas. Oh, thank you. Something Hammersdog's favorite Christmas movie is The Life of Brian. And we have someone else who can share his favorite Christmas movie.
He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy, Mr. Tom Konkle.
He's a very naughty boy.
Yeah, my voice is shot. I can't do shit this time. I'm sorry.
Hey,
Yeah,
Kamran,
how
how are you?
Joining us.
Yeah, I can't do it.
Happy holidays, sir.
You know,
Andre, Tom, pleasure. Spending this past year with you has been great, and your audience is amazing. They're so supportive, and it's been a nice place to share ideas with like-minded people. I really appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely. We're so glad to have both of you. Like, gentlemen, have you two met each other before? Have you been on stream before?
I don't know that, Tom, you and I have ever been on a live.
Well, then it's my pleasure to come on. Let me introduce you to filmmaker Tom Konkle, Mr. Konkle.
How are you?
To introduce you to seer, a writer, producer, and former journalist, Kamran Pasha.
Absolutely, I'm a big fan already. So I watch you all the time, and it's an honor to be on the stream with you.
So we have an excitement. Good. So this is a stream. I was like, I gotta wake up on Christmas Eve, and it ended up being a very fun stream with good people. So this is good.
Well, that's like the beauty. Like, it's what one makes of it, and you can always have fun on any stream as long as you have like good company. And I would call this very, very good company. And to those wondering, just have to make a phone call, and she'll be back again before long. I'm certain. But
Absolutely.
Tom 2-0, ho ho ho, Mr. Conkle, tell us what's going on. Like last year, you had like this amazing Christmas radio special live recording that we could promote. Are you doing something similar this year?
I did do something similar. This time I did it on an app called Clubhouse. I did a serious live. It was a high wire act, I will admit. Literally, I met the actors as I was performing the piece. So I had no rehearsal with them. I didn't know their rhythms or whatever. Literally, they go, hey, can you come into Clubhouse and do this script? I was like, sure, I'll do this script. And I go in, and there's about 200 people in Clubhouse, and they're like, okay, these are the people you're acting with. Let's go. So it was a wonderful high wire act doing a serious version of Scrooge, where I played Scrooge. And there were people from England that I was acting with, and all around the world. And we had a really good time. It's actually, I think, still on the replay. You can now record. Before, you couldn't record Clubhouse conversations. It was audio only, and when it was gone, it was gone. But I think now it's on a replay. So if you have Clubhouse, seek me out, and I think it's saved on my profile.
Excellent. This is great. Congratulations.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And
that's really cool.
yeah, we wrapped up the year. I just finished writing another script that I'm putting in with the slate that we're trying to do with Vernon Wells and some of the other people that I have. So it was productive here at the very end. And I got woken up by the same rainstorm and things that Cameron did. It's been pouring. It's been very wintry and rainy here. We have a little bit of flooding where I am. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's a little unusual for for California, but hopefully,
welcome.
Yeah. I think we need the water, and hopefully it's a symbol of a beginning of a new era next year.
Yes.
After a couple of years.
Yeah, washing the streets clean. I like to think.
Yeah,
Get some of the grease.
Quite literally.
Yeah, quite literally.
Yeah, so it's all good. So it's cool. So do we have more super chats? You want to start jumping into Tom?
Yeah. We do have more super chats. I just want to say that next time I go to LA, I hope it will be as nice as the last time I was there, which was in 2018.
Yeah,
maybe
take
a lot to hoping, but hope springs eternal, doesn't it?
Well, I will definitely take you to lunch when you come out here.
I look forward to it.
We'll go to Earth Cafe in West Hollywood, which is the models are coming back there, and so when the models are coming back to Earth Cafe, things are beginning to change. So, yeah.
Oh, that's nice. It's like last time I was there, I was like 2 weeks in, actually 1 week in West Hollywood. Stayed at in the hills there, so that was pretty awesome. Look forward to doing something similar next time.
So it's like the models are like the hedgehog. If the models come to the Earth Cafe, it means 6 more weeks of casting.
Yeah. Like the groundhog, I believe it was. We don't have those things in Norway, but I remember the movie Groundhog Day. So
right.
So yeah.
It's a real thing here. They always check the groundhog out and see if it's going to be winter longer.
Yeah. We don't have groundhogs in Norway, but we have lemmings. They're pretty cool.
Lemmings are very cool.
Yeah, but Norwegian lemmings are different. Okay. They're quite unique because unlike all other lemmings, you know how they're colored? They're colored like wasps. They're like bright orange and red. Those are
that's
colors.
That's unusual.
Yeah, because these are aggressive little monsters.
Well, they're Norwegian.
Yeah, exactly. These little guys, they have like the battle axe, and like everyone. If you want like a fun thing, if you want to see like a super aggressive little hamster, then you go to YouTube and look for Norwegian lemming.
Norwegian lemming.
Like the cool videos.
Are they like at least the archetype you have of lemmings, which is they follow the flock to their destruction, or are they too Viking to do that?
No, they're way too Viking to do that. they do. I mean, they're lemmings in name only. What they are super aggressive, roided up little Viking hamsters.
Oh, that's funny. I love that. So, of course they are. They're an anachronism.
Yeah. Moving on. Dalburn just says Beavis and Butthead Christmas, and yeah, just to address, I saw someone else say this in the comments before. Yes, I'm a huge fan of Beavis and Butthead. So when coming up with a thumbnail for this show, actually I was in a rush because I was leaving the house. So honestly, I just recycled the thumbnail from last year's Christmas show. But I just took the picture of Beavis and Butthead because I just love that image. So cool. And Southbound 110 says for $5, big fan of all you guys. Thankful for you guys helping me get through work days with all your insight. Oh, well, thank you. It's
fantastic. I want to say hello to everybody, everyone in the chat. Thank you so much for being so supportive and being there, and we're grateful for you.
We are indeed. And also Brad Lambert says, found your channel this year and have been watching all year. Thank you and Kamran for all the insights and for a better 2022. Hopefully. Yes, indeed. Hopefully. And no matter what happens, we'll be here and we'll get each other through it.
Yes, indeed.
Indeed. So we are so glad that you found us, Brad, you and everyone else. So please smash like and help share the stream, not for our egos or anything, but so that more people can find the channel and join this amazing community or fellowship. I have learned to dislike the term community, but this fellowship.
It is a fellowship, but that is true.
Yeah,
I like that.
Tom Wando, you were saying.
I said, no,
hello,
it's
Tom.
Totally about my ego.
Your ego is orbiting other egos, so it's sort of like a gas giant of some kind.
But like the fellow, I'm gonna go back to the fellowship, like the Fellowship of the Ring, and like the Peter Jackson movies. The Fellowship works better when you add a beautiful elf like Arwen into the mix, right? And that's why
Or-
I bring the feminine.
Or a tiny elf like this as well.
Yeah, that also works. And that looks like just like Tintin's little doggy.
That's right. She wanted to get in the middle of this. Like,
Yeah.
what's going on?
And Jack Hudson says, "Happy holidays, Midnight's Edge and friends. Just want to say thanks to Midnight's Edge, Friday Night Heights, and Critical Drinker for making some of the best and entertaining content all year."
I agree.
Thank you. And we're so honored to be part of such esteemed company as the others you mentioned. So yeah, they're all good friends, and pleasure to be part of a YouTube fellowship that can help people out a little bit. Gojira Star 5477 says, "Merry Christmas to all from Monster Island." Oh, nice. Thank you to Andre, Tom, Kamran, and for keeping us entertained and informed.
Urrum had to step away, but I hope she's able to come back. But
I think that she thinks we're back. Also, not the super chat, but still a comment since I went past it. Dr. Long Donglud said, "Kamran, I saw a video blaming Chapek for the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge Hotel experience being a failure. But I thought that was more KK and the club who brought that in."
I mean, I think we've addressed that a couple times, but yes, I mean, I think the latter part of your comment is correct. Again, because it took many years to get that. Building a hotel takes time. Even more than making a movie, building a hotel takes time, right? And so to claim that the hotel, which is in its completion, which was planned out maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, is the bad ideas of the hotel are to be blamed for the person who comes in after those people are all gone, doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
I have to agree.
And then we have ActionCom, who says, for $20, thank you so much, "A legend goes that a student once challenged Frank Capra during a talk by saying that his filmmaking was too upbeat and unrealistic. Capra's response was, then what's the point? Do you agree with Capra's sentiment?"
Well, I mean, I've always believed that ultimately stories should be uplifting, and that's why, for example, I love the new Spider-Man, but I actually personally think that the Ghostbusters Afterlife is an even better movie because Spider-Man does end on a note of hope, but it has this cloud of darkness that they're going to resolve in future movies. Whereas what blew me away emotionally about the Ghostbusters Afterlife is that it just is so emotionally cathartic.
I have to agree with you on this. Yeah,
and so that I was so happy at the end of that movie, and I think that's what we want out of movies.
As I say, death, destruction, betrayal. I can get that at home. Let's have it in movies. I don't need it at home. Right. Yeah, I will say I loved the Spider-Man movie. We haven't talked since we saw it. My son saw it first, and then he's like, "Dad, you have to see it." So I went and saw it with him literally the next day, and was so pleasantly surprised that not only did it hit all the technical beats of being a well-crafted film, but it really did what I think everyone was cathartically, as Cameron was saying, being cathartic with Afterlife. For me, it was cathartic for an audience in general to go see a crafted movie that was about the story, that brought full circle that message of with great power is great responsibility, but it honored the fans. It was a beautifully crafted film, and it's being rewarded for being exactly what we were hoping Marvel would do for us, which is just make us get a rush. Give us some of the things that we want. Don't pander. Don't give us, some political agenda. Don't tell us we shouldn't like Spider-Man. Honor Spider-Man, texture him. And at the end of the film, I feel like you finally became Spider-Man, that these 3 films were actually an origin story, and now it begins.
That's exactly right, because the complaint that many people have had with Tom Holland is this isn't Spider-Man. This is Iron Man, young Iron Kid pretending to be Spider-Man. And one of the reasons that it felt that way is not the technology of the suits that he had, is that we hadn't yet had the lesson of with great with great power comes great responsibility, and it had to be done explicitly, and it had to be done through loss and suffering in the way that it was done here, because that's how it's always done. That's the lesson. Spider-Man is filled with grief. That's his journey, and this movie begins his journey.
You're absolutely right. And he needed to be the underdog. He needed to not have all the advantages of the suit or any support system from the Avengers. He needed to be forgotten to be reborn.
Yeah.
So it was a Lazarus, you know, the whole film was a Lazarus, but it also honored his past. And what I love is it also brought the other, you know, the Sony films, the Tobey Maguire films in universe, at least. That's what a multiverse does beautifully, is that now, if you really want to talk about it, you could talk about the whole breadth of what's been created about Spider-Man. And in many ways, I mean, let's face it, the Andrew Garfield version of Spider-Man in this was better than what he did in the standalone film.
Oh, it was better written. He's always been a great actor. I liked him as Spider-Man. I just thought, what is this crap script?
The writing wasn't good. Yeah. And his choices are great. I mean, he's an Oscar actor. He can do a great job. But Spider-Man just gave me such a rush. And there's some movies you go and see and you go, oh, right, that's why I put up with all this crap to be a filmmaker or to tell stories, is that rush, that feeling of when everything's firing on all thrusters and you see the audience, like they were yelling and hoarse cheering at that film. And I was like, that's why you do it.
Yeah. And, you know, it's for me, the very fact that this movie was so well crafted to give Andrew Garfield the emotional catharsis that he needed, because he was done bad. I mean, we left him at the dark point of his never fully made trilogy.
Yeah.
He's never had a chance to grieve and never had a chance to redeem himself for not being able to save the woman he loved, right?
Yeah.
The fact that they did that,
it's beautiful.
Why, I mean, in some ways, it hit me as deeply as what happened to Aunt May. Stayed with me because I felt he was done dirty in those movies.
I agree. And to me, that shows that not only the director, but the writer and the producers went, you know what, let's do a deep dive into why we like Spider-Man. What was left undone? What would really richen up this mix? Not just a superficial understanding of Spider-Man. Oh, it's a kid in a suit and let's put, you know, rap music on it. It was, what is it about Spider-Man that people loved? What was left undone? And how do we deepen everything? A great sequel makes the previous films better.
And the wonderful thing about this, whether they intended it or not, I think at least someone in the system intended it, they have now created the possibilities to move forward with alternative timeline stories with Andrew Garfield. You know,
absolutely.
If
I don't doubt it.
Tobey Maguire wants to come back, I'm pretty sure Garfield will take it if it was offered to him to come back. I'm sure.
I'm sure, because not only does it open up the opportunities for them to explore the Spider-Man character, but to be in a big hit picture allows someone like Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire to also do other creative projects. Because you can say, oh, by the way, I was in this movie that made $2 billion. Maybe you want to hire me. Yeah.
That's good. And
so here comes
Marissa Tomei. She always comes back, and I will look forward to see what she does next.
She's quietly fantastic every time. She's amazing. Yeah,
I mean, she's the one. It's amazing that you win an Oscar for this incredibly underrated performance that you deserve. You actually won it, and everyone then questions whether you deserve to win it. No, man, she's an Oscar winner. I mean, she
won it. Absolutely, it was a great comedic performance. It was Judy Holliday level performance. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. I wish I could have seen it in theaters, but sadly, Sony did not will it. So yeah, so there we are.
Well, my friend, you know, speaking of theaters, my friend last night, the one that I said was very unhappy with The Matrix, and he was really grumbling, sending me DM upon DM, and I was startled because he's generally a very positive guy, and I said, well, I think you need to go back and watch Ghostbusters, which you hadn't seen. I think that's the antidote, right? If you and go see it in the theater, because he's been a little afraid to get out, and I'm like, I think you need to allow yourself that experience. That'll help you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you just are inside a nervous wreck, that's gonna end you as well, probably faster than many other things. But we're not doctors, and all that jazz. Moving on a little bit here, we have a little bit more to go through. Marigot Anne wonders, Andre, is Dinner for One a British sketch comedy that is 18 minutes long in running time? Actually, there's two versions of it by the exact same actors and stuff like that. So at first glance, you can't really tell the difference between like the 10-minute and 18-minute version. But yeah, if you found the 18-minute version, go for that one, because that is the better of the two versions. And sadly, it is not the version that airs in Norway. So I'm sorry, my fellow Norwegians. We have always had the subpar version of it, but it's still hilarious. Kitty Bear Crazy Dutch Bastard wonders for €5. When is Tom starting his channel, Monkey's Edge After Dark?
Okay.
We went off the rails last night.
Yeah, monkey box. Okay, it feels like I missed something cool.
Yeah, you know what? I have that feeling very often whenever someone references something that happens after dark. I'm like, I imagine it must be something from After Dark yesterday, and I just roll with it. So yeah.
We're doing Karate Monkey, Ninja Monkey,
Okay.
Shaolin Monkey,
Okay.
Kung Fu Monkey, all that stuff. We're gonna build up the MCU, the Monkey Cinematic Universe. And
it exists in the comics. You have like Marvel monkeys, don't you? So yeah, why not?
Oh,
No, you do.
yeah, Kung Fu.
And they're led by the ghost of Harambe. And
I feel like I've missed some memos here.
you gotta kind of see the show last night to get the
I'm gonna have to catch up on some of this.
Yeah. Poor Harambe, and people still bring it up to Leslie Jones' eternal chagrin. But yeah. And Munchkin says for £25. Oh, thank you, matey. Hello again. Only 7 more sleeps till Cobra Kai. Speaking of Karate, Tom. Are you excited too? And will you do a stream afterwards? Oh, Tom, are we doing a stream after Cobra Kai?
I would imagine.
Okay, this is where you would say hell to the F yes. But yeah.
That's why I said yeah.
Cobra Kai is a fantastic show.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And moving on, he also says, just wanted to say Merry Christmas. Discovering Midnight's Edge has been a much needed white pill. Oh, well, thank you. We're so glad to have you here, and as a valued member of the fellowship and practically a sponsor of the channel. So yeah, much appreciated. So glad to have found you, or that you found us, rather.
And when you see the white pill, I think he's referencing the idea that the last several years has been so difficult for fans, especially after The Last Jedi and Ghostbusters 2016. We just had a slew of bad movie after bad movie that the industry kept telling us, you're gonna eat this sandwich and like it, right? And so people began to reach a point where they thought it's never ever going to change. And there's entire YouTube channels that are dedicated today to the idea that it won't change. We're not going to let it change because we're so angry, and that's the black pill. And I would just use the example of what is happening this last few weeks with all the successful non-bad movies like Spider-Man, movies that inspire us like Ghostbusters, and the fact that Mr. Feig has to come out and sort of desperately grumble about the fact his movie is not being included. In a black pill world, his movie would have been rammed down our throat. The industry has figured out, let's just move on. Let's just move forward.
Let's stick with that for a moment. We're going to move on with the super chats, but right now we dropped the video on Paul Feig's Ghostbusters yesterday.
Yeah.
It's already trending. So I hope that you've all seen the video we put out. But basically, and here is joining us again. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Tom Konkle, if you haven't met before.
We have. How are you?
Yes, I am well. How are you, Tom?
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to see you. I'm doing great. I'm starting to relax. I'm not going to write anything. I'm not going to try and look for money for anything. I'm not going to perform anything. So I'm good. I'm just going to chill. Andre, I wanted to say one thing about Paul and his Ghostbusters thing. Isn't it ironic?
But first, let me just set up the context here.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
Those that haven't seen the video, for those that may not have heard, I always like to give context in case someone doesn't know. But basically, there's coming a Blu-ray Ghostbuster set, and it is rightfully called Ghostbusters: The Ultimate Collection. It's an 8-disc extravaganza.
Well, can I kind of take
mostly bonus discs? Yeah,
can I take this for a second? Because Valiant is kind of convinced that we had a little play in this, but I'm not so sure. Because this news originally dropped two days ago that we were getting this box set, and I was told from one of my sources in the industry that it is 8 discs, and the other 2 discs are probably Ghostbusters 2016. And then all of a sudden, we get some low-res picture, which kind of you can't really tell what it is. Then a better picture come out, and a bunch of stories come out that no, this is not Ghostbusters 2016 in here. In fact, if you zoom in here on the picture, you can, if I can bring it up right, It actually says right on the thing that it's special features. So no, it's Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters 2, Ghostbusters Afterlife, special features, and the book. So no, there is no Ghostbusters 2016 in it. So that, of course, hit the story all over the place. And then Paul Feig has to say something about it, but I think he said it after we did 4K for You and talked about this. Not that we probably had anything to do with it, because Screen Crush had was it Screen Rant? Screen Rant or Screen Crush?
Yeah, it was several of them actually.
Yeah,
and
one of
you
those.
had, and there are some people who are.
And then he got ratioed to hell on Twitter over it.
Yeah, to the 2016 movie, and any kind of slight against it, they take personally. And then you also had Slash Film that were like, hey, well, how can you have an ultimate Ghostbusters collection without the 2016 movie? That is not ultimate. And I choose. Oh, that's not what ultimate means. You're thinking of complete. Ultimate only means the quintessential, and in this case, quintessential Ghostbusters is removing the odd one out. And then you have the pure continuity.
And there was plenty of people also pointing out to Einstein there that it didn't have the animated series in it as well.
Yeah, so. That too. I'm sorry we forgot that in the video, but put together quickly. But anyway, so yeah, that is the context, and of course. Paul Feig, he had to have a good cry about it, or more specifically, he retweeted this really cringe-worthy article from Slash Film, and he highlighted Sony in that retweet, saying this has to be a mistake.
Slash Film. That's
we have so many fans. We won Kids' Choice Awards, and when he said that in the tweet, I couldn't help but think of an episode of Robot Chicken, where you have what's his face, like the actor, he looked to have like a really promising career at one point, Breckenmeyer, and then he basically his career got sidelined, and he's exactly, and that's kind of like what he said, like towards the end credit, he was like, it was like the best part of the episode. He was like, I don't deserve this disrespect. I was in Garfield.
That's pretty much what ended his career.
And that is what that tweet reminded me of. Like, we're popular. We won the Kids' Choice Awards, and literally nothing else. And he tweeted this at Sony, and then he was like, hashtag we're all Ghostbusters. Apart from, I guess, the original crew, especially Bill Murray, because they said on screen, it's not Ghostbusters material, so much for that. But again,
he's like, we're all the Jedi. We are all the Sith.
And I have to correct myself. Now I remember what happened was Valiant had pointed out that he tweeted it earlier because Six reminded me. Yeah, it was earlier in the day he tweeted it, and we brought it up, but it was after we brought it up on the show that it kind of took off on Twitter. Because then it started going a little bit. That's what happened.
Well, Midnight's Edge has always been Ghostbuster Central, so don't be surprised.
And we actually had a fairly decent crowd on 4K for You, so I wouldn't be surprised. I told Valiant it had nothing to do with us, but
I mean, we've been world first in breaking stuff like that before.
Tom has been itching to say something about this, so please.
Yes, now set up, Mr. Conkle.
Well, thank you. What I was going to say is the irony here is, in my recollection of the film when it came out, he went out of his way to distance his Ghostbusters from the other Ghostbusters. There was a real conscious effort to not have anything to do with it, that this was a total redo of the franchise or whatever. So the irony that strikes me is like, well, I wanted nothing to do with this. I'm doing something completely new and different. Why didn't you include me in the old stuff? I think that he wants his cake, and eat it too. In that you can't say this is divorced from the in-universe, version of Ghostbusters. But then when a compilation version comes out, if they decide for economic reasons, nobody wants to see that movie, so they probably didn't want to master it into that collection. But to say, how come I'm not part of it? Well, it's like, go back and read your interviews from 2016 and 2017. You literally didn't want anything to do with it. You were remaking the mythos. You were remaking the main characters. So it's sour grapes.
It certainly is. And one other interesting thing about this is that, the focus of the 2016 movie was something that I've been speaking to a lot of you gentlemen about, where, all of a sudden the focus of the film is not for entertainment. It's to right the wrongs that were
Right.
done in previous versions, or to, you know, that character should have never been like that. You know, Ghostbusters should have never been doing that. Well, the last time I checked, Ghostbusters is about busting ghosts,
Yeah.
you know. But once you make a film like that, you know, you're already saying that you thought there was something wrong, you know, with the other films, and this is going to be the film that's going to change things, and you know, it's going to be great. And it wasn't great. And you know, like you said, why all of a sudden would he feel this desire to be associated with these films that had so many wrongs in them?
Yeah.
You know, it's a very interesting thing that he has in his mind. He just wants to have his film included. That's all he wants, and wants to get recognition for it. But it's a contradiction to add it in there with that type of a declaration and focus.
Yeah, well, if it was in there, it'd be the most he ever sold of that film.
Well, but this is the mindset. I think RM has just hit the mindset here of all these people that in the last 5 years, you know, people like, you know, and again, they are otherwise talented directors. Feig is a talented director, right?
Yeah,
you know, he's made some very good movies that I've enjoyed. Spy was a very funny movie. You know,
what, Bridesmaids? I think.
Yeah, I mean, he's done well. I mean, there was A Simple Favor with Blake Lively that I loved. I thought so. He's talented, and even someone like Rian Johnson is a very talented filmmaker. But in all these cases, you had these talented filmmakers. They decided to ruin the past because they thought that was cool at the time. They thought that's where the audience was. They thought that's where culture was. And instead of trying to guide culture in a positive way forward, they just wanted to get the applause of the crowd. So they did what they thought the Twitter crowd wanted at the time. And now years have gone by, and essentially all of us who were saying, man, this stuff is bad stuff, have been proven right by the direction of culture. And so now they're resentful that they're not getting the applause because they sold away their creative integrity to just get applause by the cultural moment that they misperceived at the time.
Yeah, I think you're right. And the, you know, again, you know, we love female characters that are well done. I always think it's so spurious to have an argument where you see a poster and it's the young lady who's the lead in Ghostbusters, and someone goes, "Oh, well, see, they didn't want to see female Ghostbusters do that." I'm like, she's the lead in the film. There's no guy goes, "Oh man, I'd really like to see that movie," but is a woman in it?
I mean, that little girl the little girl Phoebe in the new Ghostbusters steals the entire movie.
Great. Nobody
my
cares.
niece was obsessed with her because she was a lot like my niece in personality, and no one's thinking, "Oh, I would ever gave her a girl." It's like, we're like, this girl is great.
Yeah, in reality, in the real world, no guy stops and thinks that way. And go, "Oh, well, it's, you know, it's women doing stuff." You know,
it's because it's a legacy character, and that's the whole point.
Yeah.
And most of the time, people are a little bit more lenient when it comes to that. Like, even when it comes to Ironheart, like when I give my version of the story that they should have went with, people are like, "Yeah, that works," and that just proving the point that it has nothing to do with the sex of the character or the race of the character. It has everything to do with how the character is treated, or more so how the previous characters are treated.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, instead of making Riri Williams, you know, a chick who steals Iron Man's tech and all that kind of shit, why didn't you just make it a girl who needed a heart when she was little, and Tony built her a heart like his, and then after he passes, he leaves her a suit because he knows she can run it.
That's great.
That's easy to do. How hard is it to make? Why does it have to be? Oh, he
well,
stole
because
it.
the theft thing also.
Yeah.
The theft thing, Tom, also comes from Hollywood's, again, conscious/unconscious racism, because we're seeing the same exact thing that is happening now with I think there's a new Captain Nemo movie that they're talking about that's coming out. I read about it in the trades, and according to the trade article, you know, a Captain Nemo stole the Nautilus from the British from the British East India Company. He built the Nautilus. He's the greatest Indian guy in the 1800s that created a nuclear reactor and used it to fight the British colonialists. That's the book.
It's not
racism. You can't have him. The white guy in the 1800s had to make the Nautilus, and the Indian guy had to steal it. They don't even realize they're doing it.
Is that for real? That's for real.
Yes.
That is the name of that. What's the name of that?
I'll look it up. It's a new Captain Nemo thing coming out.
And it's not quite the same thing, but it's along the same trope of when they made Finn in the sequel series a janitor. You know, like they did specific things that, you know, obviously they did it for a reason. It's not unconscious either. They wanted that character to fall into a specific category that they felt was okay. acceptable, and it was ridiculous.
Yeah. I agree with you. And there's nothing more dangerous than a far left person or a person who is, looking for social justice who goes, oh, I want to make people relate to him. So, janitors, there's a lot of black people that are janitors. And it's sort of like, are you kidding? He was a stormtrooper, and it's condescending and horrible. But, that really bothered me when it came up in the story, because there's no reason for it, because, they have droids for that. But also, like Kamran said, it's like I've been looking at doing a Nemo project, and my first go-to is to find a great Indian actor who could play Nemo. And of course, he designed the tech. Of course, it's his thing. It doesn't need to be this kind of usurping of it, or we have to steal the tech like Batwoman stole Batman's suit because she couldn't think of her own thing. I don't understand that.
Well, but you've hit something here which just came to me. It is racist projection, but it's also projection. The people that are doing this are uncreative. They steal other people's ideas. They're not able to do something on their own, so they can't actually imagine someone inventing on their own. It's not within their DNA.
Right. And yeah, that's probably a white paper, and marketing is saying this is what we think we can sell, and creativity has nothing to do with that. You can't quantify creativity. You just make it, and then people figure out how to sell it, and sometimes people agree with you and sometimes they hate what you do, but at least you did something you believed in.
I have to stop for just a moment because our illustrious wrench, Mr. Tickle Trunk, just sent us a very, very generous Canadian
so
super chat.
God bless.
Did you want to read this, Andre?
Yes, absolutely. Mr. Tinkle Trunk says, for 100 Canadian dollars, wish I could hang out with all of you like usual, but I'm helping the family out for the next couple of weeks. Wishing you all a heartfelt Hanukkah, a kind-hearted Kwanzaa, and a cozy Christmas and a fancy Festivus for the rest of us atheist heathens. Take care, everyone. Absolutely, Mr. Tickle Trunk. Thank you, and thank you for the super chat, and thanks for being part of the fellowship. Fantastic. And yes, I always say family comes first. So you do what you got to do.
Thank you.
We'll be here when you come back.
And I have to say thank you for referencing all the holidays of the season. I wish Saturnalia came back. I mean, for everything I read about Saturnalia, that was one heck of a party. I mean, and I
want Life Day back.
Star Trek on another planet with the Saturnalia.
Where's Life Day? Yeah, look, see, Baby Yoda's up there. He's celebrating Life Day.
I'm doing druid rituals with a tree in my house. That's where that came from.
And I gotta say, all these guys are monkeying around in the chat, but so far my favorite two are Star Chimp Troopers, and the number one favorite one is Stop or My Primate Will Shoot. You all are hired.
I would
trying very
take
hard.
my money. I would see that. I would definitely.
Well, here's the thing. I said last night, I got 3 divisions that I'm going to start at my studio.
Yeah.
All monkey movies, all movies made with little people, and then one that just does nothing but like Charlie Band type Corman movies. Nothing but B movies. And B movie stands for boobs.
Yeah.
I'm awake. You got a subscriber. Okay.
When I say movies with little people, I mean we're making the exact same movie with just little people, little props.
I didn't realize you were interested in short subjects as a film.
Yeah, well,
I got to be careful. I was on a writer's board once where someone made the mistake of using a joke about midget, and then someone said, my sister is a little person and she's suffered all her life from that, and then it just went off the rails for a while. I was like, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut.
In that conversation, I say, well, I fucked a midget, so.
My favorite studio.
You're not going to work with that person on a TV show, my friend.
My favorite studio note ever was there was a midget that was being put into a toilet in a comedy, and the note came down from the studio going, is there any way we can do this more tastefully?
That is someone who knows that we're going to have to go to some of these companies later. We don't want to like little people are big in Hollywood, aren't they?
I think Script came up with the name too. It was like Overhead Productions or something like that.
And to be honest, there are some terrific little people actors. I mean, my God.
Oh yeah. It goes back to Wizard of Oz, as someone pointed out.
Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
there's been some transcendent performance. Game of Thrones and all these are, there are great actors.
Mini-Me was an archetype, a global archetype.
Yeah, exactly.
God rest his soul.
Yeah.
And then we also had another, holy cow, Marty sent in another very generous super chat this morning.
Thank you,
so much.
Marty, for another 100 Canadian dollars.
Fantastic.
Saturnalia wasn't exactly for kids, Mr. Pasha. Merry Christmas. Here's the other half of the gas money.
The gas
Happy
money.
holidays.
That's about a third in LA right now. That
Oh,
would
it
come
was
to
Out of
third
Reach
the
Studios, but I like Overhead Studios too. Both of those work. Out of Reach Studios as well.
That's pretty
But
good.
thank you, Marty. Holy cow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
that is
generous.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Very,
Merry
very
Christmas
generous.
and Happy
And-
New Year and Happy
Yeah.
New Year.
Yes, it is because Saturnalia is what it is that I would like to see it return. We've already
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the little kids better grow up then, or stay home. They're going to stay home and sit on Santa's lap, which is actually Odin's lap. But yeah, anyway.
Don't sit on nobody's lap in LA. They don't.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
just
no,
gonna say,
yeah,
don't do it.
don't.
You have a consent
No.
form with Santa.
If
Yeah.
they're in LA and they look like either Santa or Odin, probably it's better to keep some distance.
Yeah. Yeah. There was one guy who insisted he was Santa, but then I realized it was July, and I just would not sit in his lap. Not happening.
Exactly.
Culture's here as well. I sent you the link, my friend, if you're available. Merry Christmas, man. Says, I am now concerned that Tom is trying to leverage me out of my rightful place as the parent company owning Monkey Chimp Film Ltd. Well, you should have been on at the ground floor, okay? That's not my fault. No, you were there. He was there. He's awesome. He's always on Midnight's Edge After Dark.
He's a good friend and valued. Yeah.
Valiant last night, though, that was
him popular.
hilarious. He's like, I didn't know we were going to be talking about movies for a half hour of the show. I'm like, you've been on Midnight's Edge After Dark before, right? Like, this is not.
Yeah.
Eventually, it's going to come to this. It's just, it's going to be about monkeys or Nunchuckosaurus at some point. I have pitched 100 movies. And like I said to Script last night, one of these days, we're going to get an email.
Yeah.
Or a phone call. So just wait.
Or
Be ready to write it.
Or we get loads of people saying in the chat, "Did you see that trailer from that studio that never contacted you?"
Exactly.
That's coming, my friend. This bunch of
Actually,
things
we've had a few of those now, but
That's
close, but nothing really exact, but close. Yeah.
When we were back when we were a kid, what was it in the 80s? There was this thing, the talking chimpanzee show. Do you guys remember that?
Oh yes, and I'm trying.
There
to
was the
remember name of it.
chimpanzee that like it was like a sitcom show in the 80s
Shoot.
where chimpanzee drank
Yes.
like some magical like scientific and they did the talking.
We
was
were
like
spared of
the
this in
80s,
Norway.
The chimp.
I would
Yeah, there
remember
was
what it
a show, and of course there's Every Which Way But Loose.
But
with
Loose,
Clint
yeah.
Eastwood. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, there
remember
was a
that.
period where we had a
Chimpanzee
lot of
show,
monkey
all right.
stuff. And then we had Going Ape, of course, with Danny DeVito and Tony Danza, and I know the show. Lancelot Link. That's it.
Lancelot Link,
Thank you,
Secret
Willie.
Chimp.
Thank you.
Lancelot,
Willie.
that's right. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
people brought that up
Oh my
last
God.
night too, but like and then you had Animal Follies way back in the day, which has been tough as shit to find. I've been trying to find anything of that, but like that's impossible. Like people like barely remembered that it existed, but it was like I think it was during the 60s they did it, but they would take like old like animal stuff and have them like people do voiceovers and stuff over it.
Hardest thing I ever wrote was this thing called Dynamo Duck. It was a bunch
shit.
of French footage of a duck, and someone had built all this miniature stuff. And I got this thing, and they're like, "You're a director, you're a writer, you can do some of these things." And I get the footage, and I'm like, "What do you do with a duck? Like its mouth doesn't even." And it was hours of footage they wanted me to turn into a kids show called Dynamo Duck.
Yeah, Duck's not a good one.
I
Doesn't
remember
Duck-
that.
Doesn't Affleck have a talking
Was this
duck?
like a baby duckling or something?
A little baby duckling. Do you remember
I
that?
remember this. Yeah, I saw this.
I
This we
wrote
did.
that. I wrote that
Really?
nonsense.
I saw that. I saw
Wow.
Dynamo Duck because because it wasn't in Norway, but it was in the UK.
Yeah,
we
it was
had
not
the
my
children's
finest hour.
channel from Norway.
Yeah.
Or we got it in Norway by satellite. We got the children's channel from.
You remember
UK.
Dynamo
One
Duck?
of those things was Dynamo Duck. I had forgotten that until you said it. With this little duckling, and they kind of like made like the spy agent or something like that.
Yes, I made him into a spy, and he had to have all these spy missions. Because what else are you going to do with him? Yeah.
Oh my god! I can't believe that. I grew up with that.
Yeah. Remember when he would fall off of things? He was always falling off.
I
of
fucking
stuff.
remember this now that I see the pictures of it here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I only remember it very vaguely. Oh my god, that was you.
I think my Be Cool Scooby-Doo episodes were better. I think they were better. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like Dynamo Duck. That rings a bell, but yeah.
Dynamo Duck.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I was handed a
think it
bunch
was
of footage.
Yeah.
I love that you actually saw it.
Yeah, I know I did. I totally saw it. I'm not gonna say I was like a huge fan. It was like, wait, there was nothing else, and we only had the Children's Channel. I mean, He-Man was done and stuff like that by the time. So like, okay, fine, something's gonna come afterwards. So it wasn't that I'm not gonna lie and claim I tuned in for Dynamo Duck, but they're in the background.
So my favorite, you actually saw it story is I was once on an airplane and the person sitting next to me just, started, always make the mistake, never mention your screenwriter because then they immediately start pitching you their brilliant idea that they're going to go right and then they'll take 50% of it, right? So he was going through that. I was like, oh, here we go. He said, I'm really inspired by this episode of The Twilight Zone, which is Katherine Heigl goes back in time to kill baby Hitler. I was like, yeah, I wrote that. He said, what, really? And then he goes, but there was another episode of that absolutely sucked where Usher was fighting a ghost. I was like, yeah, I wrote that one too. It was just one after the other. His favorite and his worst episodes were mine.
Yeah, who would have
and then he went on to pitch me his dumb idea that he's going to give me 50%.
Of course. That's actually really hilarious, though. So yeah, I had like something similar once when I studied in the UK when I did my master's. It wasn't because I had studied at the University of Bath, and I was just getting there. I was like settled in, so I stepped into the taxi, and to drive me to like my new accommodation. He was like, "Oh, so you're from Norway? I had a guy here from Norway last week. Maybe you know him." And like his name was an irrelevant name. I was like, This is where I normally would tell you that there's actually quite a lot of people from Norway. The chances of two actually knowing each other are fairly slim, but in this particular case, yeah, he's my next door neighbor.
That's funny. It actually was your next door neighbor.
It actually was my next door neighbor. I knew because he was like also going to the same area, because he was a teacher. So he was like in some kind of conference at that university. So by sheer coincidence, he had obviously gone there at the same taxi. So like, I connected it right away. Like, fuck, it really is him.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I thought so. What else is amazing is we have a few more super chats. We're going to bring in some more people here. But first, Anthony says for 50 Danish krona. My favorite panel with Kamran and also Andre, Tom, and I would say Tom 2.0, but this was said before he came on. You're much appreciated. Merry Christmas from Denmark. So I thank you, my fellow Nordic brother.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Well, this is a good.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, this is a good sign considering Jesse works with us and he can't even leave the scene. So you're going to say, Cameron, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I found the show that I was thinking of because there was that chimpanzee show from the 70s. But the one that I was thinking of, someone put it in the chat. It's called Mr. Smith. It wasn't a chimpanzee. It was an orangutan. It was a talking orangutan in 1983. Mr. Smith.
I missed that one.
Yeah, I remember.
Never heard of it.
That's what inspired me to become the great filmmaker I am today, the talking orangutan. I'm telling you.
Oh, that's brilliant.
No, but on the Dynamo Duck thing, Tom, you actually entertained my child. So thank you.
For that's awesome.
That's brilliant.
I love that.
I mean,
so
how amazing
I saw the
that?
Picture of it. I'm like, oh, I know what that is.
Yeah, and I saw it too. Like, that's amazing, Tom. Tom One. We're sitting here with one of the people behind Dynamo Duck, and we've been speaking with him for years, and we had no idea.
You had no idea.
From now on, I'm introducing him as Tom Konkle, the creator, the writer of Dynamo Duck.
Dynamo Duck.
Yeah. You know what I'd love? I'd love to find one of the original writers of Land of the Lost because that had such an impact.
Oh yeah,
that was
Marty Croft.
I was going to say, you know what's funny is
they were the only ones who wrote it, huh?
Yeah, that was their invention. They were out of their minds. They were whacked out of their minds.
Had the kids were at the Star Trek convention I was at 2
Really?
years ago too. Yeah.
Marshall, Will, and Holly.
Yes.
So Marshall was the dad, and Will and Holly were.
It was Will and Holly were there. Will and Holly were there. Yes.
On a routine expedition. I remember the song. It's the greatest earthquake ever known. Yeah, I know the
And
song.
the Slee Stack. Yeah,
I love the Slee Stacks. I
Yeah.
love them. They were
And
fantastic.
there was that
they were
there was
great.
that the Sleestack ancestor Enoch, right? Remember Enoch?
Yes.
Enoch. Yeah.
Yeah. And he believed that the Sleestacks were he'd been thrown through time like them, and he
Mhm.
believed the Sleestacks were his ancestors because they were primitive people, primitive creatures, and he was so advanced. Only to discover that they're the descendants, that his people had devolved. It was very tragic.
Yes.
Very tragic episode.
That's right. Yeah. I once went to, I think it was Marty Krofft's house, and the inside of his house is literally like their show. Like they have, he has a bookcase that rotates around into another room, another universe thing, all these puppets. There's a puppet room, all these different things. So it's like they are the real deal of weird. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all midnight set. Like you got to hang out with so many people that know so many cool people and stuff like that. Yeah. Also on that note, Culture Casino has some clarifications on like the Iger and Star Wars and Chapek Hotel and stuff like that. He says for $5, and he knows this stuff. Galactic Star Cruiser is Iger's mess. Listening to KK is bad. Merry Christmas, everyone. So yeah, it's going to be very difficult to pin that one on Chapek. And to me, it's unbelievable why anyone would want to go on that Galactic Star Cruise. Like
I'd love to know Cameron's thoughts
I
on this,
would go
and
there
even
for free.
Ur's thoughts on this. I feel like it was such a tone deaf concept to begin with, because the idea of travel on a luxury liner really has nothing to do with Star Wars and the sort of sanitized approach they have, but also the fans, or being accessible to the people you want. The price point on that is precisely not the people you want to cater to. That you would want volume at a lower price, but the very concept itself, not only is it not a Star Wars experience because you don't necessarily pick a character and learn to do anything with it. You just sort of are on a cruise ship, but at that price point, it just doesn't make business sense.
Yeah, and it's about as well thought out as Galaxy's Edge was, which was supposed to be like Tatooine, if I remember correctly. And, everybody would want to have those experiences and characters that they were looking forward to that are so, in our hearts, really.
Yeah.
Of course, we're going to want to see Luke and Leia and,
Right.
Of course, we're going to want to see them. But
Right.
the idea of going ahead with an entire attraction at one of the world's most well-known,
theme park,
parks, to go ahead with what would essentially be unknown characters with an unknown theme,
right?
Unfamiliar places, unfamiliar ideas. It's just a big letdown, isn't it? And honestly, I think that the people going into the actual attraction have more of the memorabilia of what we want to see. Walking in with costumes that make them happy, but
Slave Leia.
Yeah.
Yes. Why isn't there a Jabba the Hutt in there somewhere?
I know. I saw a guy go in who was dressed perfectly as Lando Calrissian, and I was like, how did they miss this? How did they miss this?
Yes,
it's Kathleen Kennedy's fault.
Well, there should have been, a bunch of different rides that I can think of, just even off of the top of my head, as not even a theme park expert, but I know that other, Star Wars fans would love and enjoy. But
well, honestly, I've said Star Wars could be its own theme park on its own.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you're right, Tom.
Part is the fact that they did this insulting thing, isn't it? What they're trying to do is really fleece the fans. They see that we're going to conventions. They see we're spending tons of money on things. They see that if they put out a Star Wars film, and we'll go to it, we'll spend $1 billion, even when it's a bad one. And so they figure, hey, let's see if we can get even more money from them. And even if they put out a box set of the sequels, people are still buying these things, right? We're spending money on this. We're buying figures. Even like, oh, that figure looks nice. The Kylo Ren figure looks nice. I didn't like what they did in the story, but I'm still throwing my money at Star Wars, and they see this. They're not stupid. Well, so they figure, hey, let's promise them an experience that they want to have. They want to have an adventure they want to have this adventure. Let's do something we've never done before and pretend like we're going to be taking you to another universe. We're not, but we're charging you as if we were taking you like halfway across
the space.
The planet.
Right.
Yes.
It's like,
Well,
you're
here's the
gonna
thing. At least give them
Yeah.
credit that it's on a ship. It may not be a spaceship,
Yes.
but it's on
And
a
then
ship. No, it's just...
on top of it, the most insulting part from what I understand is that it's not even a actual concept view. Like, in other words, production designers spend all this time and money trying to create a feel of Star Wars, the look of Star Wars. And it's an expensive thing. It's a time-consuming thing. You know, you can bring in the best designers in there, and even just going there, you're like, "Wow, I really feel like I'm in Star Wars."
Then they might have stole a bunch of that.
Yeah, they didn't do that in the rooms. Like, it doesn't look like that. And then they have these monitors that are supposed to show you pictures. Oh, look at the beautiful picture of what Star Wars is like. Wait a minute, I'm paying $6,000 for this. Why don't I have like a creature coming up to me and asking me what I want to do today? Like, why didn't they come up with more creative things? This is ridiculous. Right. We all know
lack
it's ridiculous.
of creativity. Yeah.
Like, this is the world that we're living in. And they know they can get away with it because people will still throw their money, because we're hoping. We have hope. We have so much hope as Star Wars fans that we are buying into some of this stuff. I am guilty of it. I'm not going to say I'm not guilty of it, but they are taking advantage of the fans that way, and it's really disappointing.
Well, we do have another guest in the back here, and this person knows a few things about the whole. What I was talking about with the whole, they couldn't even do anything without getting sued because they're getting sued over their Star Wars ride. Isn't that right, Culture Casino?
Yeah, they are. As a matter of fact, hey, how's it going, everyone? It's good to see you.
Merry Christmas,
Merry Christmas, happy holidays to you.
Oh, good to see you all, and Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy Kwanzaa. I can't do them all. I would love to, but
happy Saturnalia.
Saturnalia, absolutely. Yeah. Festivus, you know, Kwanzaa, you know, it's all out there.
Yule.
Yeah. Actually, we did that the other day on Midnight's Edge. Yeah, but I just want to say, they're in the process right now of dealing with they're essentially the intellectual property of another company in the large Rise of the Resistance attraction in both their theme parks, because they stole some integrated technology for displaying a moving picture synchronized to a physical drop, et cetera. And but they look, this concept and I just wanted to pop in here because this is like, these are my passions, these are the things I know a lot about, because I know a lot about the blue sky stuff that never got made. But this idea of a hotel, that's the Wayback Machine for Disney. They were actually one of the original concepts for the Tower of Terror, the Twilight Tower of Terror, was as a hotel. So that they could actually bring people into a hotel experience that would spook the pants off of them, right? You know, because it was going to take the Haunted Mansion concept to the next level and have guests experience that. This concept sounded really good on paper. It was just like the Galaxy's Edge expansion that you guys were just talking about. It sounded amazing on paper, but they deviated from the original plan. The things that our touchstones, the things that we all grew up with, the 50-year-olds are trying to get rid of in favor of a generation that will lose these touchstones as they lose.
And has no money. This generation cannot afford these things.
That's true.
Not at $8.99 a person per night.
Well, not only that, they just don't care.
But a lot of money.
But these concepts in our and I know that Cameron knows this as well, and probably Tom does, but they had another attraction that was slated to go in here. They had a potential expansion that was slated to go into these theme parks, and they spent $1 billion on a bizarre shopping area. Everything that's involved in visiting this location is
it's a glorified mall.
It is, and
the Mall of America is more exciting.
Well, and they got away with it. And again, this is the difference between a bean counter running a company and everything else, because a lot of the stuff was oriented around is extracting money. I mean, this goes back to Tom Staggs before he was booted out the door in favor of the future Chapek. And, it goes back to that period of time where they were trying to figure out alternate ways to get more money out of a customer's pocket and still deliver the same experience. Well, they've abandoned that idea. You're not getting the same experience now. The value has been removed from their theme parks, which is their cash cow. But
the price is still up.
It keeps going up. Yeah, Cameron, the price went up 14% across the board during the beginning part of the global crisis, right? So from the time they closed the gates to the time they opened the gates again, you had a 14% price increase across the board. Food items went up almost 20%.
And also because of inflation, you probably had a 14% real increase just today over the course of this show.
Wow.
But anyway, come on, carry on.
But I want to address that because
Yeah.
because I think everyone's hit the major issues of incompetence and lack of vision and delusion as to those new characters and all that stuff. But I think there's an issue that I experienced certainly in the last several years during this period when we were watching this horrible moments that started with Ghostbusters 2016 of our culture being attacked by these apparently soulless people. And one of the things that I felt throughout the industry, I felt it not just on screen, but working off screen. I felt it with my colleagues. I felt it inside the Writers Guild. There was this growing sense of let them eat cake.
Yes.
There was this sense of people that were this self-anointed aristocrats within the system who had contempt for the general populace and wanted to make things for who they believed were the cultural aristocrats of society. So if you think these things like The Last Jedi were being, in their minds, they were making it for the higher educated elites that would understand sophisticated storytelling. This was all delusion in their own minds.
Mhm.
A lot of stuff that's been happening in recent days in the Writers Guild, which is another issue I won't get into it deep, but has been choices that elite members of the Writers Guild have made to the incredible detriment of the average person there, because let them eat cake. Screw them. They're not one of us. If they didn't get as far as us, we're not going to let them get as far as us. That's part of this ugliness that we're seeing with these prices that make no sense. It's just like, well, we don't want the masses in here.
It's in service of corporatism. I mean, that's where we're losing the soul of these corporations that were supposed to entertain us at every level. That's where this is the natural evolution of that. That's why we're suffering from these things. And it's, and as more institutional investment gets involved in the more of the entertainment companies, it gets worse and worse and worse. And that's exactly right, Cameron. You just delineated it perfectly.
You nailed it. It was like arrogant kind of let them eat cake. I'll show them what's good for them and they'll like it. And the pushback on that has been just people going, we're not stupid and we don't want it. And I'm sorry, and they love money. So hopefully they're getting the message. And I think had a great point, which is the experience of going to an immersive thing like that. It needs to really feel, you shouldn't be shown pictures of what you should be experiencing. You should be experiencing it. And I think if you have a great experience at something like that or Galaxy's Edge, that will drive people wanting to buy a little memento or something. But if you front load it where it's like, hey, you haven't ridden on the stage yet, but do you want a little model of the stage? You want to buy a horse? You want to do all this? And then you get on the stagecoach and the ride sucks. You don't want to buy that stuff. So front loading it and the consumer part of it really is off-putting to the general public and to fans. Mm-hmm. And my business partner does immersive ride attractions. He does large format installations in Shanghai and everywhere. And the intellectual property stealing is a big problem in projection systems, in interactivity. There is a dark and seedy underworld of ride attraction. So I am not surprised that happened, but also innovation is very difficult because there's so many steps, so many vendors, so many things that have to come together to make a ride work that it really is the mismanagement of the Disney attraction overall that tonally it's off, the execution is off, the production design is off, and ultimately the sort of messaging in it is off because A, you started with a bad idea, which was to forget everything that everybody loved about Star Wars. B, you made a cruise ship out of something that's about battles. And C, you had a price point that a family of three, what is that, $8.99? It's like $5,000.
Yeah. Median price for most people's experiences between $5,000 and $6,000.
My sister
who can afford that?
Not going to pay that. Yeah.
Well, again, I mean, they're now catering to the 1%. Believe it or not, Disney has gone away from being a family company that Walt always wanted it to be a place to go with their kids to sit and experience something, a nice place that would be free of litter and all of the, hullabaloo that came along with most of the, amusement parks of the time, right? And the carnival attractions. And they've deviated so dramatically. I mean, again, Tom, I mean, obviously, they lost the plot, man, and especially with this particular thing where you no longer are engaged. And you're right, a cruise ship, with space battles, that's all they're doing. That's your story experiences are going to revolve around interactions with the First Order. And as somebody in the chat mentioned, and I tried not to get somebody in trouble, but fortunately Jay over at Park Hoppin' broke the news, even though I hinted at it during a stream, that the High Republic characters are where all this crap is going to be based around.
Which, again, tone deaf.
Yeah, and the other thing that I wanted to mention, and I kind of would like to get all of your opinions about this, is that, obviously you can see me holding my Grogu doll next to you.
I love that show. I love that show. Yeah.
Now, with this being said, just even in concept wise, money making wise, it's been a very popular show. And there's been enough time from, let's say, what was it, the fall of 2019 to, let's say, now the fall of 2021, for there to be Grogu's on the premises. In other words, there should have been something like that. I mean, since they weren't going to give us Yoda in Yoda's, area on Dagobah, we were not going to get that. This was an opportunity for them to really just go, Grogu crazy. Now, I understand that he's not everybody's favorite character, but that's not the point that I'm making.
Not the point, yeah.
I have seen so many times where I have gone to events, any kind of event, Comic-Cons, whatever, with people carrying merchandise with this creature on it. It's because they want to see him. They want this character. We should have been able to visit him on Tython, where he's meditating.
Right. And you know what?
And he can do his little thing.
You didn't buy that and then hope you liked the show. You liked the show and then you bought that. And that is a very important distinction. They didn't sort of say, well, we don't know if you're going to like that. We're going to put some Rogus out and we're going to see if people buy them and then we'll do a show. And that, to me, it feels like that's the sort of shifting sand that we're dealing with. Can you imagine if they had done two branches? One, you're on board the Imperial ship that's going to attack the Tantive 4 with Captain Antilles at the beginning of Star Wars. Another, you're on the Tantive 4 and you know you're going to be attacked by the ship. You can pick two different places. You go through training as an Imperial officer or you go through training as a rebel, and you know they will intersect in a battle over Tatooine and you don't know what will happen. That ride I would go to.
Yeah. And also the other
I'm not in charge.
The other thing that I think is very odd about it too, of course, is that Disney is known for characters being in their theme parks. So what has changed that they're kind of like, this is not something they want to do for Star Wars in particular? It's very odd that they are having this inner conflict with what should have been something that was a given. I'm expecting to see Alice in Wonderland when I go to Disney. Like whenever I go, I always go, oh, look, it's Alice. Now I knew she was going to be there. I knew she would be there.
Right.
But I still am very thrilled to see her standing there,
of course,
in the theme park. And so, my point really, I guess, is I'm just kind of concerned that we're not really seeing that. I don't feel as if that's the direction they want to go in. And it really disturbs me.
Yeah. That was the direction that has been set in motion several years ago by Miss Kathleen Kennedy and her flying monkeys. Right now, we are faced with the egg has been hatched, and now we're dealing with it. And to address this thing, which is why, because it doesn't make rational business sense, and it doesn't make sense based on the business practices of this company going back multiple decades, right? Of how they do these kinds of things. What it is again the issue of cultural arrogance of an incompetent elite. Walt Disney was an entrepreneur, right? Hollywood was founded by entrepreneurs. Now you're at this third generation of these people that are the legacy, several generations disconnected from the entrepreneurship, who are sitting there smugly in the club thinking they understand things. And so as a result, instead of what an entrepreneur does is he tries stuff, she tries stuff, it doesn't work, try something else. And that's how you adjust. You fire, oh, didn't work, re-aim, right? Whereas these people assume, because they're not entrepreneurs, they assume that whatever garbage is in their mind, you will accept it because they perceive themselves to be geniuses based on nothing, based on never having the interaction that let them eat cake. There is no, an entrepreneur can't have let them eat cake.
It's the 30-year cycle of failure. You just described it. Generation 1, they do fantastic work. Generation 2 manages the work that was done by the previous generation. Generation 3, it all falls apart. So 60 years or the 30-year cycle, however you want to describe it, it's a 60-year cycle, 30-year cycle. But you are 100% right, and we are in the undoing.
So it's the Matrix.
Well, maybe. Kind of.
But
Culture brings up a great point.
Let me add one last thought, which is that, again, because I want to be cautious, because of now that this thing has happened, everyone's like, oh, we're back to look at Star Wars. This is the end result. This is the final moment of this horrible thing that was set in motion at the height of the arrogance, right? And now we're seeing the result of it. Just remember what comes after Let Them Eat Cake. It's the revolution. And the process is already beginning. We're seeing it. This thing is something that showed up in a time machine at the wrong moment, at the midst of the revolution that's happening. So it's even more pointedly out of place.
Yeah, I want to see Grogu at Disney World. That's all I'm going to say.
And that seems basic to me.
It'd be so easy to have him pop up everywhere too.
Yes,
He's just a little animatronic thing.
Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? Well,
I can go buy one at Walmart right now that can do all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
Marsha Lucas said it right. She said the vast majority of Star Wars is being made by people that don't get Star Wars. They don't understand it. It's a copy of a copy of a copy at this point to them. And you're always in a creative, and Cameron, you'll probably back me up on this. You're in a creative corner when you're doing something based on what you think someone else would like or do. You're not doing your own true thing. You're not even trying to service the story, but you're going, well, I think this, entity over here wants me to say this and do that or whatever, or I think this. It's a hollow exercise.
And we're in an even worse place, Tom, because that's right. And in my experience, whenever I've written scripts thinking this is what the market wants, they always fail.
Yeah.
Whenever I've written scripts that my agent said there's no market for it, I've sold them because they're from the heart, right? But we're now dealing with a third level of beyond that, which is I'm going to tell you what you like. Rather than I'm going to try to figure out what you like and give it to you, I'm going to tell you what you like because I'm the queen. It's literally like the Mad Hatter situation, off with their head. Like, you're going to do what I say. And the rage, and we're seeing with Mr. Paul Feig, the rage that he's feeling that, we didn't accept what he gave us. He still can't let it go. Just let it go and say, okay, you didn't like my movie. Schumacher admitted, okay, you didn't like my Batman and Robin. I'm sorry. I did my best. It didn't work.
Not everything's going to be great. Yeah, not everything's going to be great. And also, when you take the risk of distancing and saying, I'm fixing it. I think said this. It's like, I'm fixing Ghostbusters. These are little holes. This is wrong. It was all men. It was awful. And then you go, why aren't I in the club? Nobody's going to give you any sympathy. And frankly, doing a box set like that to master it, they probably looked at the numbers and they're like, you know what? The 2016 isn't worth putting in there.
Also, then they may have to pay royalties to Paul Feig and everyone in it, leave that out, and then the box set is instantly going to be more profitable for that very reason.
Correct. Andre, you're right.
And I could never do what both of you guys do, because I could not deal with the committee's worth of notes you have to deal with. I can't imagine trying to make a movie or television show by committee like that. A writer's room is difficult enough to manage. It's everything beyond that I don't need corporatism leaking in to my decision-making process or my creativity. I think that's crap. And that's why we're where we're at with a lot of stuff right now.
I think you're right. I draw a distinction because I think you're right. There's a committee and there's a team. A team is the group around you that you all speak shorthand. You're all marching in the right direction. I love collaborating with my team. I love being with like-minded people and doing it. A committee is people with their own agendas that aren't marching in the same. That you have to put them around a hole and push them all in the hole at the same time, or it doesn't happen. But a team is somebody who picks up one side of it and goes, hey, look, I can help you with this idea, or I get what you're looking for, and they contribute art or they contribute music. That's my team. I love working with a team, and a committee is someone that is there to say no, and a team is there to say yes. Yes, and.
Yeah, that's
big
beautiful.
difference.
Yeah,
Big
no,
difference.
You're right.
Yeah.
Note that we have a couple of guests joining us in the background.
We do.
We have Jesse, who is one of my partners in crime over at Mead. How you doing, Jesse? Merry Christmas.
Oh, I can't complain. If my audio sucks, I'm in the kitchen.
Yeah, you're cooking.
No, it seems pretty okay so far.
It's good. It's good. It's good.
I don't think.
Yeah,
I don't know if
you're
you've
in
met
the habit.
Tom yet. I think you've met Cameron at least, though. And
Yeah,
I
I've
don't know if you
seen
met
Tom
Tom.
How are you, Jesse?
So that's
Pleasure,
a good
Jesse.
thing.
Hi, Jesse.
And I bought
how are
Cameron's
you?
book. You should too. Buy yourself a Christmas present.
Oh, that's very gracious of you. Thank you so
I'm a
much.
Christmas and a good time.
Absolutely.
And we also have a fellow countryman of yours, Andre.
Yes, we do. So,
There's someone else in
he's-
Norway.
yeah, there's someone else in Norway.
his
There's
neighbor.
someone else also not celebrating.
Kidding.
right
It's
now.
not his name.
He's been on After Dark before. Welcome, Jace Fox.
Hey.
Hello, everybody.
Hello,
How are you?
Jace.
Hey, Jace, how are you?
Nice to meet all of you.
Now, so, Jace, I think I've interacted with you in chats and things. I don't know that we've ever been.
Yeah,
on
he's been
screen.
around in the chat all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
he's
been
a
in the chat all the time. Yeah.
I'm a fellow Norwegian, so.
Yeah, someone else who was supposed to be celebrating Christmas right about now, or Yule, as we would say. So yeah, but instead here with us, and I have to say I'm surprised. I didn't expect us to be this money here today, but hey, there's nothing better than that. And since we are doing the fellowship experience, let's listen to what you all have to say with some more of these super chats. Professor Gray says for $5, happy holidays, going to try to watch the Star Wars holiday special. Just to remind myself that Star Wars always had rough times, and it came back.
Yes.
And John Apocalypse says for £4.99 earlier this month, the Stan Lee Twitter account was shilling NFTs. You think Bob Iger wanted to leave one big PR nightmare before he left in January?
I don't know.
Who runs the Stan Lee Twitter account? That's my first question.
Stan Lee has been hijacked by all kinds of people at this point.
I mean,
I mean, even Stan Lee
That
Media
account.
has nothing to do with Stan Lee.
Yeah. If it's Stan Lee, I'm scared.
Yeah. Well, I'll take it, but that's not the Stan Lee I know that we're shilling that and the stuff that is on that account. But no, look, I can't speak to that specifically. I do think Mr. Iger is salty about the way things are playing out for him. And I think that's why we're seeing things like his buddy saying he's gonna come back. It's literally like the end of a cult where your cult leader is dead. Like, no, he's gonna come back. He's gonna come back. The alien ship will bring him back, right? And so it's like, and so he's I think he's very salty about how he's moving on. And
it's funny you mentioned that because like in Scientology, when L. Ron Hubbard left the body or dropped the body, as they said, to conduct his studies or continue his studies beyond this plane,
Right.
then the guy taking over and who may have had a hand in him dropping the body was like promising
You're
him.
gonna get killed, man. You're gonna get us killed. Don't go there. We're gonna have car accidents.
All I'm saying is that L. Ron Hubbard did an interview at Reader's Digest, and he told me he was tired of getting paid pennies a page writing science fiction.
Yeah, we all know how that story
So we
went.
made it science fact.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I wish I could hang out here and be concerned about my future, but I'm going to get going because I have Christmas presents to deliver. But
Yeah.
I had a
All right,
great
Culture,
time
take
hanging out
care.
for just
It
a
was
few
great
moments.
to see you.
I hope you all
Nice to
have
see
a
you,
lovely,
Culture.
Take care,
amazing
Culture.
New Year. If I don't see you before then, happy holidays.
Happy
to
Christmas,
all.
Culture.
Yes,
Merry Christmas,
absolutely,
happy holidays.
Jason, everyone. See you guys later. Bye.
Yeah, all right. Take care. Thanks for joining us. And Fantho 5692 says for $10 rather than watch Christmas movies, I read Christmas books. The Life and Adventure of Santa Claus by L. Frank Baum.
Frank Baum.
That sounds interesting.
Classic.
Yeah.
I should read some of his books one of these days. Like I know that because for anyone who's not an American, L. Frank Baum, he's the writer of The Wizard of Oz, and
That's
the
right.
movie takes liberties. Like his work has never fully been done justice on screen, has it?
No, I read some of his books as a child too. He had spin-offs with the Tin Woodsman and
Yeah, it was frightening stuff, wasn't it?
yeah, it was very dark, almost like a grim fairy tale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And there's an entire underculture in the conspiracy world
that reads the books for their socio-political coding. So there's an entire, if you can find YouTube videos suggesting that the L. Frank Baum's original Wizard of Oz novel is actually a commentary on the gold standard versus the silver standard. And it was an anti-Federal Reserve piece. It's very interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah. And of course, everyone should be against the Federal Reserve, but I'm not going to go into that here.
You want to get us killed today, man. You want to get us
Dude,
killed.
now that will get you shot. That's what should be Scientologist.
I'm going to go check my car, make sure the brakes are working.
Yeah, I think like some Kennedys tried that and then didn't work out too well. So, yeah. But anyway, moving on.
That's
There's something
precisely my
much more-
point. Back and to the left, Andre.
Cigar Gangster. Oh, I like that. That's classy. Says for $19.99. Kamran, read your Patreon posting on Ghostbusters last night. Your tone was angry but understandable. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Happy holidays, gentlemen. And yes, everyone, go check out Kamran's Patreon. The link is in the description, as will be the links for everyone in the chat. As soon as I get around to updating it, or sorry, everyone who's on the panel will be in the description when I get around to updating it.
And my tone was angry, and those who've read it, it's probably I try to be snarky and balanced in myself. Last night when Mr. Feig made his comments, it really rubbed me wrong. And I just it was all these years that I've sat in writers' room the last several years where I've seen this kind of contempt for the audience, this delusion, this disrespect, and the fact this era really is over, and to pop up now and try to bring that garbage back into the discourse, it really upset me, right? The Hollywood went through a rare moment. It really is not common in our industry. I think Mr. Conkle would agree with it, that of actual open contempt for the audience. We've made bad movies. We've made dumb movies, right? But we've never had people openly saying, you're going to eat this garbage because that's never been the industry. And then this culture that, frankly, Mr. Feig started because after when he got his criticism, he responded with this ugly attack on the fans that then Rian Johnson followed up on. It became a culture of you couldn't criticize bad movies. So
they did that with Charlie's Angels. Yeah, Charlie's Angels. They said, this isn't for men. And then when men didn't go, they went, See, men hate women.
Yeah, Jace, did you see Charlie's Angels, the new one?
The remake. I saw
or the remake of the remake.
Yeah, and I saw bits of it. Me and my dad, we tried to watch it together because he loves the other ones. So we tried to watch it, and we couldn't finish it at all.
It's not a well-made film.
No.
Yeah.
And when you have like Bella from Twilight.
Oh, the girl from Twilight? Yeah.
She can't act for shit.
Yeah, Kristen Stewart.
Yeah, she can't act. She's the same. Every time she plays something, she's always the same. No feelings. She's just dead.
She recently made a film called, I can't remember, I think it's called Spencer. And there was a lot of buzz about this. She was playing the role of Princess Diana, and it was supposed to be, sort of I guess it maybe an avant-garde or an auteur made this film. But honestly, I watched that film and I wasn't impressed the way I felt I should have been. The best thing I've seen her in recently was one where she made a movie and there was a water Cthulhu. That was a great film that she was in, but
she was pretty okay in that one.
The one underwater, the one that's like
I think it was called Underwater. Yeah,
she needs to do more things like that. She's great in that science fiction look. Like she had the
this little.
She really wasn't terrible as Joan Jett either. I mean, because
she's got the Joan Jett
director. It's who her director is that really makes a difference.
No, it's I would say that it's what her role and how, because what I always say is whenever you're casting someone, it's not just about finding the most talented actor. It's about finding the right fit for the individual
Just
role.
be glad we dodged the bullet with her playing fucking Catwoman.
Oh my God, yeah.
Oh, she was up for Catwoman?
Yeah, Warner Brothers' initial idea was, and this is why we laughed at people who thought we were crazy when we brought it up before, but no, their whole deal was they wanted to bring in the Twilight crowd. They were going to have Pattinson and her star as Batman and Catwoman.
Going to be a Batman reunion.
Wow.
Oh, sorry, Twilight reunion.
Twilight reunion.
No, thank you. I don't want that.
The baggage in that casting would have been just like
Yeah,
a
but from-
ham
but-
around your neck. Yeah.
She's
But
not
from
mature
Warner
enough for that
Media's
role.
point of view,
And
it
here's
wasn't
Werewolf
baggage, it was their
Riddler.
selling point.
Oh, is that Andre?
No, I was just saying, but from Warner Media's point of view, it wasn't baggage. It was a selling
Is a
point.
selling point, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm so excited to see Victor Zaslav and Discovery take over Warner next year and completely clean house. It's going to be epic. It'll be like Conan the Barbarian just going in.
You think he's
Well,
going
I
to
hope
stick
so.
around?
Yeah. Pardon me?
You think Zaslav? Never mind. I thought,
Zaslav.
never
Yeah.
mind.
When Discovery takes
But
over,
what's going?
mean,
I wish
they're gonna
Culture
clean
was still
house.
here because I was curious what was going on with that whole thing with the government because they were trying to. There was question of whether or not they were going to allow it to even go
yeah,
through.
well, the official, at least the regulators, I just read a trade article 2 days ago that the regulators both in the US and the EU have approved it. I don't know if there's any further objections down this process, right? But
Okay,
they
well,
see-
that was that the latest news then? Because
that's what I
yeah.
heard 2 days ago.
Okay,
So-
cool.
so I
Well,
think
then
it's
that's good
moving
news for them.
It is.
That is very good news for them. So I sincerely hope.
That was until yesterday, and I really kicked myself in the ass. Andre knows what I'm going to say here, probably. Cancel Warner Brothers was trending yesterday. Or
What does
what was
that
it?
mean?
Boycott Warner Brothers. Boycott
Oh,
Warner
boycott.
Brothers.
Okay.
And I told people, I'm like, I'm starting to wonder if like these recent news stories we've had in the last couple of weeks here are a sign that the Snyderverse is not coming back. And if that's true, the fans are going to fucking lose it. And last night they did. Because last week, Ben Affleck said he's not doing IPs anymore. There's been rumors that they've been doing 2 different test screenings of The Flash and the Batman. And the
Yes,
rumor got
yes.
out there that we had reported on months ago that Affleck, spoilers, gets basically Back to the Future out of existence in this movie.
Why?
Really?
And
Why would you do that?
that word got out and the fans got pissed. And then right on the heels of all that, you've got the news that Michael Keaton signed up for another Batman film, which goes off of the other reporting we were going off of, is that they were desperate to sign him for multiple films. And it even got worse because get this, Andre, the new rumor is that Batman Beyond movie we were reporting on,
Yeah,
that's Batgirl.
yeah. I had a suspicion.
It's
Really?
I
bad.
had a suspicion that
Oh.
it might be. Yeah.
It's a
Why
bad
would they
idea.
do that?
So it's going to be Batman Beyond with a chick, yes.
That's gonna fucking blow, man.
I don't understand.
But it's gonna be stunning and brave.
Yeah,
So last
but
night,
that's
yeah,
exactly how
the
they see
Twitter
it, yeah.
flew into a frenzy with boycott what WB.
Okay. Well, now, so I'm going to speak up here because I've been public about this. That I don't know the filmmakers of the new Batgirl personally, but I have multiple friends who are very close.
They're
with
the
them.
guys who made Bad Boys for Life. Actually.
Yeah, Bad Boys for Life. And so I will say this: is that from I actually had a friend who was in the room when they made the casting call on Leslie Grace, and he shared with me that that there wasn't any kind of woke thing of like we're gonna have to have a Latino play this. It was literally like they had 2 actresses. They had gone through an entire casting search, and they were debating in the room with the Warner's executives, and they finally said they're both incredible. I think Leslie fits the vision we want for this script. And my friends who know them, they're both Adil and Bilal. They're actually like me. They are traditional religious Muslims, right? They pray, they fast, right? And they don't drink, and they want to just make general stuff like Bad Boys 3 is made for the general population. People, I liked it, right? And they're not out there trying to screw up media. They don't have any weirdo woke agenda that doesn't fit who they are as human beings. So I just want to calm everyone down about the fears that they've heard. These 2 guys really want to entertain people, and they philosophically do not share the cultural Marxism that has been beneath some of these agendas that we're seeing. So I just want everyone to calm down about this.
I did bring that up that these guys do have a fairly good track record last night.
And everything I heard
that
about
does
this,
need to be
they're
said.
not woke. They are, one of them just got married to his essentially high school sweetheart yesterday, right? These are normal people who are moral character. That's not normal for Hollywood. You don't have too many big filmmakers who are religious people that don't drink.
Bad
That's not
Boys
normal.
for Life actually was pretty well, in my opinion. It was
Yeah,
not
and
woke,
even
and
being
it was-
conservative Muslim guys, they had hot chicks and bikinis there
Yeah.
because they were trying to make something for the audience, not for themselves. So everyone give it a moment. I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah, I hope that we're going to be okay with that. The problem is, honestly, I have to say that if they do a Batgirl Beyond instead of like
Batgirl
Batman
Beyond.
Beyond, something, yeah, Batgirl
Yeah.
Beyond, I think that can be okay in the hands of the right filmmakers. What has me worried is the Flash movie, and if they're going to Batman,
well, that's what's
Back to
kicking
the
this whole
Future-
thing off.
Yeah, I know, and that is something that Walter Hamada definitely would do on his way out the door, and that would be completely ridiculous because then he's trying to force the Hamada verse upon whoever is left. Make sure there can be no going back to the Snyder.
Now there is some counter to this though, because there is another rumor going around. Yeah, that Ben Affleck is supposed to be in Batgirl. And I did make the point when we originally brought up this whole interview with him that he may be saying that right now, but that does not mean he can't. He's contractually obligated however many Batman movies they have him contractually obligated for. And if they want to use him, it would be tougher for him to get out of that contract than the other way around.
But
he may not want to. Case in point, just look at Andrew Garfield. How many times did he say that he wasn't in Spider-Man No Way Home? That means nothing. That he says that.
No, but it could also mean he could also be
going around that people are writing and begging for him to be in a third movie.
Well, my point is though, is like there could be an asterisk next to that he didn't say, and that was when I'm done playing Batman. That was my point. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean he's done yet, but people are taking this all as like, you know, kind of like this is what the signals are showing, and we haven't heard anything about the air cut either. And I was assuming if we were going to hear it pretty soon here.
I think, if I may, though, I'm a little concerned that the Michael Keaton moves and the things of regressing with Batman is a misread of the success of Spider-Man. And
absolutely,
there wasn't anything left with that Batman character the way there was things left with Tobey Maguire that could be carried forward, the great power and great responsibility.
Well, that would be one thing, Tom, but
I'm worried about not mimic Marvel, you know? They all got to do the thing that just worked for them, and then it's just like never ends up working for them. They don't learn. They shoot.
The problem here is that the Spider-Man movie was a reaction to them going after Michael Keaton for Flashpoint.
And it worked because they went deep into the mythos,
faster, and better.
Yeah.
Well,
but that's the irony. I mean, this has happened before. Like Marvel learns that DC is doing this stuff. They're like, "Oh shit, we have to outdo. We have to."
Well, Eternals is as a result of New Gods.
And then they do. I know. That's the one time it failed to work. But it was like, remember, Captain America: Civil War.
Civil War.
That came about by them learning of Batman v Superman. Like, holy shit, we have to respond to this. And then they put out a better movie before. This is like the same thing with the Spider-Man No Way Home. That's their response to the Flash with the multiple Batman. But they act faster and they're able to put their movie out before, and it'll probably be better. And then DC looks like copycats and also ran by the time they get around to their original idea.
Well, yeah, because all they got is Michael Keaton.
And let me just point out with J.K. Simmons, who one of the greatest actors of our time,
he's fantastic.
Coming in. Yeah, he's coming back in as Commissioner Gordon.
He is. I saw that today.
Yeah, so that Commissioner Gordon, Commissioner Gordon in the Affleck world. So assuming that, granted, Warner's could throw all continuity out because they don't seem to care about it anyway. But if they want, it's the Affleck.
Well, you guys laugh about that, but Cameron, you're onto something there because you know this whole DCEU thing that we call it. Script pointed this out last night, and it's another thing I keep hearing. There is no DCEU. There's just DC. They do what they want now, and there's no real continuity to anything over there. And this is because you've had, and we've covered it. Andre knows what I'm talking about because we've covered it for the last couple of years. They have zero leadership. They have nobody who's really taken or been able to really take and lead this anywhere because they change whoever's in charge like people change their socks. And
the people that they have in charge with the wrong people.
Pick up sticks altogether.
Yeah, sorry, Andrew, you were saying about the wrong people,
Yeah, and I said the people that they have had in charge have been the wrong people. Like, for instance, I was hopeful for Walter Hamada, but as it turned out, the guy was worse than useless.
Yeah, he didn't do anything right.
Now, forgive me for not knowing, but Grace plays Batwoman, so who's playing Batgirl?
I forgot who's playing. They already cast.
Gracie is Batgirl, but not Batwoman. She's Batgirl. She is Commissioner Gordon's daughter, which also is interesting because some people were grumbling, "I got a Latina playing her." Well, Commissioner Gordon is white, right? I mean, again, the feedback I got from my friends in the room was
like Mexican.
Yeah, they're all dialing Mexicans too.
Well, but the feedback I got from my friend who heard the conversation said they never factored race into any of their casting conversations. They were, and I've sat in rooms and where well, we have to have a black person for this. And I've argued in rooms saying that doesn't fit this character. And they're like, we have a social responsibility to have one of the. I was like, yeah, but we don't have a social responsibility to cast the wrong person for the wrong role, right? And I've had these arguments.
Yeah, right.
And from my
so take the person, cast him in the right role. It's not hard.
Yeah,
you must feel like you're talking to children when you're dealing with these people.
Yes, you are.
Well, they are pretty stupid usually.
Yeah.
When we get asked, are they that dumb all the time? My answer is usually yes. Yes, they are.
Are we going to keep seeing Anne Boleyn castings like we've been seeing, Cameron and Tom? Like, are we going to keep getting those?
No, I think that's kind of done. I think especially now that we've begun to see Hollywood at least saying, okay, we're going to do this now. This Nzinga, series on Stars, which is about this famous African warrior queen, a show that I want to watch. Right? Yeah. Hollywood is beginning to wake up to the fact. Why don't we just cast black actors in great black roles out of black?
Yeah, just make fantastic roles that a black actor can shine in. That's not brain surgery.
And it's not that
it is
hard
too racist,
to do.
And a lot of it is racist. So,
yeah.
So again, it may turn out that Batgirl doesn't work, and it ends up not being a good movie. But based on the feedback I'm getting from people who know these guys and gotten it now from multiple different mutual friends who they're like, I think people should have more hope in this project than you're giving it. They're not the characters that
you're right. We should.
While you've been talking, I have some good. I checked in with Mikey Sutton.
Okay.
And he has some write-up over on Geekosity. What he is basically saying is that right now in this moment, things could have looked better. However, everything is kind of like set and primed for Ben Affleck to continue to remain the Batman of DC. The only thing that's really needed for it to happen is for Discovery to come in and clean house and read the actual numbers. And the numbers are the demand is there for Ben Affleck to continue.
Well,
but they can't carry forward with that under the current regime.
Well, then we're pretty much
wanting his standalone bullcrap.
I was going to say that we're pretty much
apparently there's nothing that means that Affleck is out for good, and also Batgirl ties directly in with the Flash or the other way around. So these two movies are coordinated. One follows the other.
And I also predicted that the Batgirl is now going to get moved to theatrical anyway, which Blue Beetle did the week before. So that's not going to surprise me either. But what he is saying there, though, Andre, is still kind of rings true, is they haven't signed him on for anything yet. And so what we're at here is the same
that's
situation.
True, because we're waiting for contracts and stuff like that's going to require the new management.
Exactly, and that's what I was just going to say. So now we're stuck right back where we were at the same position we were to begin with the Snyderverse. We're right back to waiting for a new regime to come in and hopefully make things better.
Pretty much, yeah. And hope is a bad strategy, but it's what we have.
Because we've already had the same thing happen to us, and it was a false kind of a false hope.
But we have to look at the track record of the people of hope. And all I can say is Victor Zaslav has made an entire corporation based on customer demand. Discovery doesn't give a damn what Hollywood elites think. It will crank out Bigfoot shows and ghost hunter shows, which I watch all the time, even though Hollywood laughs at those things because the audience wants it, right? And so that's who that guy is. So, yeah. So there's hope there because his track record suggests there's hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still gonna be skeptical with the Batgirl and the Flash and stuff like that. Still skeptical.
The Flash might suck. Again, the Flash might suck, but I'm still remain hopeful. Again, so a gentleman in the chat was saying, is everything we should presume everything is woke, and I was like, I don't think we can presume that anymore. 2017, you can presume that, and that's what I want people to start. The need to hold on to 2017 has become almost pathological for the fan base. The need to rub our anger has become pathological. We are moving
I fully agree with that.
The fans aren't letting go of it.
You have to look at things with an even hand. Otherwise, you're going to have a chip on your shoulder about everything, and you'll see things aren't there.
You're right. You're right.
We've got a string of good stuff, though, and then when you get something like Matrix, where it's then it's obvious, and we could all see it, and then that's
I'm just going to pretend that's not
and Matrix is going to fail.
Yeah. I'm just pretending that movie is not even existing anymore.
Well, I saved everybody 2.5 hours in a minute.
Yeah, just like
No,
no,
I'm not kidding.
Yeah,
I
me
just
too.
dropped it on me.
Like right at the end of the movie, I turned it off.
You guys want to see it?
You got a 1 minute thing of Matrix.
It's exact. It breaks down the Matrix and one Matrix Resurrections.
Are we allowed to do that, Andre? Let's do it. Let's do it. With that.
I would. I'd rather wait until the closer to the end of the show. But yeah, okay, fine.
It's not really that spoiler.
Everyone that does not want to be spoiled for Matrix Resurrections in any way, shape, or form, drop out now and come back in 3 minutes.
It's not really that spoilerific. It's just.
Yeah, I don't know because I haven't seen.
I get what you're saying, though. It's to be fair, yes.
Yeah.
What is everyone's thoughts on the Matrix
drop out now.
Resurrections?
Matrix, no more erections.
Yeah.
I feel like there was like a 60 to 70-minute episode of something good maybe in there. And most of it involves everything that had anything to do with Neil Patrick Harris, pretty much.
Wow.
I agreed with his character a lot more than I expected to, and the rest of it is just like shotgun references wrapped around a really bad fan film.
This movie, you guys aren't even seeing the truth. This movie is about a man who has to get ready for a date, so he takes a little blue pill.
That
he can't get it up no more.
Yes, I didn't know how to notice that.
No, that's a good one.
It's true. It's in the movie.
No, it is. It is the movie. He couldn't fly. He couldn't get it up.
Yeah, he was taking a blue pill every day. Did you notice that?
Yeah, he was.
That's going to lead to a priapism. I'm just sorry. You know, it's a medical condition you just don't want as a dude.
Oh.
Yeah. No, I agree.
That's the
I
Matrix.
Agree.
Resurrection for you. That's the movie.
All right. Well, I mean that pretty much feels
You
like
know
a
what?
lot
They
of thought
stuck
that went into
direction
it.
right in there. Didn't even notice it. You're right.
But we
I regret watching it.
With that, we do have to leave here soon. Or Tom Konkle has to leave us here soon. So you wanted to share 5 Christmas movie choices of all time.
Yeah, let's throw this out to everybody on the panel and anyone in the chat that wants to get in. So let's think about this. What are your top 5 Christmas movies of all time? Can be from any era, any genre.
Christmas Vacation.
Okay, you go first. Go ahead.
Christmas Vacation. Die Hard 1, Die Hard 2. 1987 Muppet Family Christmas. That's almost an hour. Does it count? I don't know.
It counts. It counts.
You know, the Santa Claus movies with Tim Allen aren't terrible. They're good for family. I don't know, man. Like, I go for Christmas specials over Christmas movies. I really do.
Oh, interesting. Okay, well, I'll do mine here before I take off. It's going to be, a lot of cliches, but it's because they're good. It's a Wonderful Life. I love that movie. A Christmas Carol with Alistair Sim, the Alistair Sim version of A Christmas Carol. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the TV special, 1964. I'm gonna throw that into the mix. A Christmas Story with Ralphie. I'm going to throw that into the mix. Elf. Elf, definitely Elf. And my final one, I think I'm going to have to go with Die Hard. Yeah. I think Die Hard is probably my 5th one, but that's sort of my mixed bag of ones that are always my go-to.
Come on to the coast. We'll get together. Have a few laughs.
Have a few laughs. Merry Christmas. How about you? Who's next?
I'll go.
Go ahead.
So my favorites would be Die Hard is my hands down #1 favorite of all time. So I have to watch it. And incidentally, this year I got to watch it when I was at San Diego Comic-Con. They were showing it on a big screen, and I've never seen it on a big screen before. So I feel like I can tick that box off because I saw it, and it was actually very good.
That's great.
I also like Scrooged, the version with Bill Murray.
Bill Murray.
Of course, yes.
And
Great.
National Lampoon Vacation is definitely on the list. Little Women from 1994. That one had I'm trying to think who's in it. Susan Sarandon and that really beautiful woman. What is her name? From the 80s was in it. But I really like that one. And the final one that I would choose is a movie called The Holiday. It's with Kate Winslet and
where they swap. They swap live. Yeah, that's a good film. Yeah. Oh, I've got to throw in the Grinch Who Stole Christmas with Boris Karloff.
Of course. Yeah. See, I'm a lot with Jesse. Like, I watch a lot of specials. I mean, of course, I got movies too, but I definitely get into a lot of the classic specials as well. So
absolutely, Andre.
I'll throw in just one in addition to those already mentioned. The Muppets Christmas Carol.
Yes, indeed. That's one I generally watch.
Fantastic.
It's one of the greatest adaptations.
Yeah.
Yes,
you're right.
It really is one of the
were
best.
dead to begin with. Well,
Everybody should check these movies out over the holidays.
Cameron, we'll go for the '87 Family Christmas over that. But the John Denver special was also very good. There's three main Christmas things.
Oh, the Muppets have done a lot of Christmas stuff. Yeah,
yeah, they're good at it.
Well, and of course, you all forgot Gremlins, my favorite movie.
Oh yeah.
Well,
And
Tom,
then,
right before I saw Die Hard at the con, they showed Gremlins before, so I
Nice.
got to see that in the movies too, and I'd never seen that on a screen. So
Makes sense. Makes sense. Who's
And the-
next? Cameron?
and the greatest Christmas movie of all time is Jaws: The Revenge.
Jaws the Revenge.
Because this
Nothing
time
says
it's
Christmas
personal.
like that. Yeah.
I'm kidding.
So
of course not.
I want to throw in one that I don't think's been mentioned, but it's still wonderful. Miracle on 34th Street.
Yes.
Miracle
The
on
original
34th Street.
version.
The original version, you know, with Natalie Wood is. I don't know if that was her debut film as a child actor.
It
but,
was.
and you know, it's. I'm a huge Natalie Wood fan. Like I say, I go visit her grave regularly in Westwood, and you know, and that movie is still so heartfelt because it deals with something we're still dealing with today, which is consumerism versus the true meaning of the holiday, right?
Yes.
And also about, especially in this modern cynical world that we live in, the idea that you need to believe. It goes back to that notion of, yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. We need to have these archetypes, right? You know, it's the lesson of the life of Pi. It doesn't matter if the story of the tiger is true. Who cares? The story is good. It gives meaning. It gives purpose, right? Who cares if it's true? So if Santa Claus can give people purpose, right? It's real, and and so that's why that movie.
It's important.
It's important, and that's why it still touches my heart, and the journey of I think it was Maureen O'Hara played the mom, right?
Maureen O'Hara was fantastic. Yeah,
a big crush on her. So and going from that cynical, and think about it, we're talking about what is this movie made in the 1940s, I believe, right? And
1947.
1947, right?
Yeah.
And you have an empowered female executive in 1947,
main character.
Yeah.
and she's the boss, and she's losing touch with her child, and these are stories. I mean, 47. This is stuff we're dealing with today,
Right.
And we're thinking about 19. I mean, there were no strong women characters. You got Maureen O'Hara is this powerful business executive, right, who's lost her sense of connection because of the world she's in, and this magical experience brings it back to her, and she gets to believe again like a child. That's an eternal lesson.
Oh, it's a great lesson, and just even the idea that a store would send someone to another store to help them and do all that. I mean, I love all of that. So you're right. That's
the
a
post
great
office
pick.
saves everyone.
There's another one I do.
You're right.
There's another one I do watch that hasn't been brought up yet, but we did bring it up at the front of the show, and that's Life of Brian, of course.
Life of Brian is
Yeah, Life
fantastic.
of Brian,
So
yeah.
funny. So funny.
Yeah, and then Warachi sent in $5 and has his top. I'm assuming you're male. Sorry, I didn't mean to assume any genders, but top 5 are Die Hard, White Christmas, Hogfather, Charlie Brown Christmas, and It's a Wonderful Life. There you go.
Yes.
Hogfather
Charlie Brown
was a
Christmas
good
is
movie.
beautiful too. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good music in there too.
Yeah, I watched the Albert Finney Scrooge last night.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting adaptation. I was looking at different adaptions of A Christmas Carol when I was
there's
about
so
to play
many, isn't
Scrooge.
there?
Yeah,
You know, I
it's
listened
really
to
Almost one every year.
I listened to the old radio broadcast of Orson Welles.
Yes,
introducing
with
who
Lionel
is it?
Barrymore.
Oh,
Lionel
God.
Barrymore.
Yes, with Barrymore as Scrooge.
Yep.
My God, that was really well. That was really well done.
It's so
Old
good.
timey.
Yeah, we did a
Just
version
goes
of
to
that.
show you how great.
And it's
Orson
just a
was.
radio broadcast, but it puts you there because they were so good at that back then.
It's beautifully written,
Yeah.
and that was a classic. They did it twice with Lionel Barrymore, who plays Mr. Potter, of course, and It's a Wonderful
And
Life.
of course,
He
the
was-
audience is mentioning Home Alone, which is
Yeah,
another
Home
one,
Alone, which is the
probably the first
biggest-
movie I'll throw in when my mom gets here because
biggest box office ever for a Christmas movie was Home Alone, definitely.
Don't watch the remake, the new one. Just
No,
because-
Oh my! I don't.
There's just 2 movies.
That's why? Yeah.
Look,
yes, Home Alone is.
I got
awesome.
Home Alone in a box
Jace,
set.
what
right?
about you? Jace, what are
What
your
about
picks
me?
before I take off?
I know there's
well,
tons of them.
Well, for me, I always, even though the movie's not great, and that's Star Wars Holiday Special, but that's because me and my dad always watched it together just because it's goofy.
That's great.
And we had a great time with it. And of course, Gremlins and Home Alone, Batman Returns, and of course, Die Hard.
Nice. Good picks.
Yeah.
Very good.
And before you go, I want to throw in one that is not a Christmas movie, but is a Christmas movie.
Okay.
It's a Thanksgiving movie, and it's a Christmas movie. It's Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Oh yeah.
That's a Thanksgiving
That's the
must.
spirit.
That's a Thanksgiving
Planes,
must.
Trains, and Automobiles.
Yeah. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles gets better every year. It's such.
Oh, that's the movie I say that John Candy got robbed of an Oscar for.
Absolutely.
I agree. It's such a delicate performance and vulnerable, and you don't think he's doing anything. You're like, he's just being John Candy. No, he's not. He's created this utterly believable guy that you just breaks your heart while he's making you laugh.
Well, that scene where Steve Martin goes back to him at the train station, that scene should have won him an Oscar.
Yeah.
He's like,
His
Maureen
eyes
died 8 years ago.
His eyes say
It's like-
everything.
and he's like,
Yeah,
and all that stuff. It's just like the whole thing. Just it's like, man, and it's just getting me all welled up thinking.
It's
about
John
it. But
Hughes, man. He knew exactly what he was doing with that. It was a great film. I love that movie.
Yeah, it was actually. I'd argue that was probably one of John Hughes' last good movies because I love Home Alone, but that was kind of a commercial John Hughes, and from that moment on, he went 100% commercial. Like Baby's Day Out was it. That was done.
Yeah.
Well, no, that was before all that, though.
Yeah. I mean, he made
up
some great films.
up until that point, like it was pure John Hughes. And then, you get Home Alone and Christmas Vacation. And then after that, he did nothing but commercial crap until he sadly passed.
Yeah. Gotta eat.
Between Dennis the Menace and Baby's Day Out and that kind of crap. Yeah, it's just sad.
Yeah. No, you know what? He's still got that legacy, though. There's some great
But
films.
like that's what I'm saying. Like if Planes,
Yeah.
Trains, and Automobiles, if that would have won John Candy that Oscar, it probably would have sent John Hughes down a completely different road.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right, Tom.
Hughes was such a confident filmmaker. Do you remember near the climax of Plane, Trains, and Automobiles? They've had all of these crazy misadventures. And then finally they pull the car in and the car's on fire. You have no idea why the car's on fire because they've had a bunch of misadventures that you haven't even seen.
Yeah.
You've gone with it because they've had so many. Of course the car's on fire.
Of course the car's on fire. But the radio still works. Go figure. The radio still works.
I'll be damned. The radio still works.
Police officer pulls him over and
That's a
and
good
he says,
radio.
do you feel safe in this vehicle? He says, yeah, I feel safe.
Yes, sir, I
definitely
do. In
feel
fact, and he goes, "Do you know how fast you were going?" He goes, "Nope. The odometer burned up." I have no idea.
One of my favorite lines in the movie is leading up to that scene where they're going the wrong way down the highway and they're like, "You're going the wrong way." What?
How do they know what way we're going?
He's drunk.
Yeah, I like when he goes, "Woo, woo."
That whole bit is like between that and of course the famous hotel scene are the two best. But,
And the fact that John Hughes cuts to him suddenly in a devil costume for no reason, just going like during the it took all that effort for that one shot. That one shot.
Yes,
perfectly
yes.
set up.
Details.
You got in Baby's Arms playing for like 30 seconds and
Yes.
just crawling up the bed, and it's like, where's your other hand between two pillows? Those aren't pillows.
Yeah.
Why did you
How
kiss
the bears?
my ear?
And his pajamas match the drapes. And one of my favorites is when he goes,
You
"It's a
play with your
Casio."
balls a lot.
Best of all, it's a Casio.
Yeah, it's a Casio.
It's a Casio. But he actually presents it like Vanna White. Yeah. He sells shower rings. The guy he kills me. Oh,
God bless him.
takes his shoes off and says, "My dogs are barking tonight. My dogs are barking tonight."
Oh.
It's such a great film. Well, it's a pleasure hanging and laughing with all of
we
you.
love you, Tom.
Merry
It was nice
Christmas.
meeting you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Thank you.
Christmas, Tom.
And happy
Take care.
holidays to
Merry
you, man.
Christmas.
All right, God
Thank
bless
you,
him.
man. It was a pleasure. Bye-bye.
All right, take care. So
And while we're in the middle of all that, Cigar Gangster says, "What about Planes, Trains, and Automobiles?" I'm going to assume Cigar Gangster is sadly just like behind in the stream because that'll happen sometimes when you join or you go in and out of it. Just no, none of you are watching the show at the exact same time. That's the messed up part. You're
Well,
all at
it's like-
random
it's like-
different points. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a gentleman came up after and he's like, "Well, that's a Thanksgiving movie." I was like, "Yes, I said that it's."
Yeah, he did.
Yes,
But it's a good one to kick off the season with. I totally agreed. Like that's a must, right?
Yeah.
Like I watched that one in Home for the Holidays with Helen Hunt every Thanksgiving usually.
But I think Planes,
Robert
Trains, and
Downey Jr. 's in
Automobiles
that
is
too, yeah.
perfect for any holiday that you have to get home.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's kind of got a universal theme. It doesn't have to be Thanksgiving or Christmas. It's just,
Well,
anytime you got to get home, and it's an important event like that, it's appropriate. So.
And it's even more meaningful
Yeah.
for the last couple of years where a lot of us haven't been traveling to see family, right? I think if you haven't seen this movie or haven't seen it in a while, watch it. I think it'll have much more emotional poignancy now.
Absolutely. And on that note, being Christmas Eve, we have 666 people watching. Hit that like button.
Oh, nice. Yes, smash that like. And also, Mickey Rooney says for €2, Alan Rickman in Die Hard, ho, 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 Merry Christmas.
Let's be real. What he really wants you to say, Andre, is ho,
Feliz
ho,
Navidad.
ho. No, he wants you to say ho, ho, ho. Now I have
Ho,
a
ho,
machine
ho,
gun.
Merry Christmas. I can't do it.
Now I have
I'm
a
stuck with
machine
the accent
gun.
I have.
Andre,
Ho,
there's
ho,
a trick
now
to
I
it.
have a machine
Don't do an
gun.
impression. Just say it in your own voice.
That's
Ho,
what we
ho,
tried.
ho.
He doesn't
Now I
understand
have a
it.
machine gun.
See, perfect.
There
You just
Nailed
go.
it.
That's perfect, man.
Yeah.
If
have
we
to have
ever
Jay
do a
say it
read
too,
through,
just to compare the Norwegian accents.
here's the
Because
thing.
we have
We're
another
hopefully Jesse will do the Gremlins read through tonight or tomorrow. But if we ever do a Die Hard one, like maybe next year, Andre is playing Hans Gruber.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'll be John McClane. He'll be Hans Gruber. It'll be
Oh
hilarious.
yeah,
You
absolutely.
know, I brought this up again when we did
Mrs.
the
McClane
Nikolai
There you go.
stream. But
Yeah,
Hans
yeah.
Gruber sitting there in his suit reminds me of Andre so much, right? And I would really like for Andre to have a medium armor, leather 3-piece suit, oxblood red.
Oh, nice.
And practical.
Yeah. This sounds Well,
That
we'll
sounds
see what
amazing,
we can do.
bro.
for
Maybe
that.
make it happen. There's a leather
Yeah.
worker in this.
But anyway, Jace, we have to compare the accents here. So you also have to do the ho ho ho. Now I have a machine gun line just to compare.
Well, you know who I want to play if we ever do this? Yeah, come on. I just want to play the boss who says, "Well, they're like, give us the code to the safe." He's like, "I don't have the code. You just have to kill me." Okay, fine. We'll do it the hard way.
Okay, so ho ho ho, I have a machine gun.
Yeah, there we have a comparison of two sample Norwegian accents. So yeah.
And speaking of
Deleted scenes,
Norwegian,
he is Gruber. Yeah, and we also have Durau On, who says for €20. This is French.
I know, I was
Joyeux
gonna say, yeah.
Noël, Monsieur and Mademoiselle. Here's some bucks for the Christmas. I can't be with my family today because they all caught the coup.
oh no.
Thank you for keeping me company tonight. Oh, so sorry to hear that. And what she said in the beginning was Merry Christmas, gentlemen and Madame.
Well, I know
Joyeux
there's
Noël.
plenty of streams going on throughout the day to keep you company. So
yeah, we shall do our best, and we're so sorry. That
A lot of
you can't
warm
be with
thoughts to your family.
Yeah. And then I'm so glad that we decided to have this stream because we have more people both attending in the panel and in the chat than I honestly expected. So
a couple more,
yeah.
It was.
Oh, and look at this. We got George in the chat.
Hey,
George.
Hail, man.
I'll send you the link if you're available. You can hop in.
Yeah, if you have the opportunity to hop in, then feel free.
I didn't want to really bug anybody on Christmas Eve, so
no. And we also
I was just going to stream some cooking after this. Might as well do it here.
You're doing it now.
yeah, impromptu Midnight's Edge cooking stream.
I'm gonna mute you though, Jesse, because it is getting.
Yeah, I'm about to mute myself.
Okay, thank you.
Because I just crinkled tinfoil out.
Yeah. Anyway, with moving on, we got a couple of classic super chats, I'm sure. But I know because we're going to lose Cameron here. Do we have any that are for him specifically, perhaps? And this one here, I can read while you're looking.
Yeah, actually, we do right now. Since you,
I was going to say, yeah. Black Wolf Inc. says, "Merry Christmas to the Midnight's Edge crew, and of course, salute to Killa Cam Pasha. Thank you guys for being a home to both vent and fellowship." Well, thank you, Black Wolf. Yes, and I also prefer the term fellowship because community almost makes it feel like you're obligated.
Yeah, no, I totally agree on
You
that.
know the term I prefer? I prefer the term from the old Hardy Boys books, chums. We're all chums.
Little chum.
We're all chums. Yes.
Little chum.
I do like fellowship though, because it sounds like we're going someplace.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I like that too. And speaking of not little in any way, we got a big chum here, George the Giant Slayer. How you doing, sir?
Hello,
Hey, man.
How you doing?
Good to see you again.
Hi, Cameron. I have never met you before. I've heard a lot about you. I've seen you.
Yes.
How you doing?
Cameron,
Great to
Mr. George, the Giant Slayer. I don't think you meet.
Hello.
Did you meet Jace the other night? I can't remember.
I don't believe so.
I think I have met you once, but
Yes,
not yesterday.
we met once. Yeah, it was a couple of weeks ago, I think. A week.
Yeah, we have met.
Andre?
I don't know if you met Arden
Yes.
as well.
How are you doing, mate? Yeah, we've met. How you doing?
George, yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on. How are you this Christmas?
Doing great. You know, family's coming in, so it starts getting hectic, a little bit crazy. And
well, it's good timing because we have Cameron, who's going to be checking out soon, and Arden as well, and Grogu there as well, who's looking mighty festive.
Beautiful.
He's ready to celebrate Life Day.
Yes.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, I forgot about that in Star Wars. Yeah, that was the Life Day.
Yeah,
Life
Day.
So what are y'all doing for Christmas? Y'all are
celebrating Life Day.
Right now, I'm remembering that horrible, horrible song at the end of the holiday special.
Which is basically Star Wars with words.
Well, I'm spending my Christmas here, so...
That's same, yeah. Working.
I finished seeing.
So I have to say, I saw the funniest thing. Maybe I can send a link to it. I don't know if it's a perfect show, but there was on Twitter, because I can see Twitter, I can't comment on it, right? Because they kicked me off. But there was someone, someone put on a video basically the Star Wars opening crawl theme while looking at some random person's Twitter bio, which was every wokeism you can. It just never stopped. Right? I mean, he was BLM, just never end. Like he, she, they, it just kept on going, and they just
my God.
it just kept going and going and going. Maybe I'll find the link because it is very funny.
Oh my God, that sounds funny.
I went to see Spider-Man again. I don't know why. I'm hooked on that film. Yeah. I'm driving back.
The movie is good.
Things to be hooked on.
But it's odd. I wouldn't. It's been so long since I've sung the praise of a Marvel movie.
For me, I was never a big MCU person because I basically hated most MCU movies. But this movie is one of the first MCU movies that I loved a lot.
It is. It's odd. Someone asked me what rating I would give it. I say it's like you walk down the stairs Christmas morning and you got a gift that you never expected. Just one of those things that you always talk about you're going to get, and someone just put it there. It's like it's a Christmas surprise. I was just really shocked. What's worse is that I did a video on it, which is going up in a little while, and I said, and I didn't catch myself till the video was done. I caught myself singing. I did the same thing I was doing in the car. People were looking at me. That 70s Spider-Man theme was stuck in my head. It was like Spider-Man, Spider. I'm like, you see people driving by going, okay, who's the cuckoo sitting there singing? I love it. A movie that can do that to you. I'm like, see.
Speaking of that song, that was one of my biggest disappointments of the movie because they had Ramones songs in the first two Spider-Man movies. I thought, okay, now's the time they can do the Ramones version of the Spider-Man theme, and they didn't.
Yeah,
such a letdown. But anyway, sorry.
It was it is. But that song has stuck with me since my childhood. You know what I'm talking about? The 67, I think 67.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, the Ramones redid it. Yeah, and like I said, I was waiting for it in this movie. I'm like, no.
You heard it on the cell phone. That was it. That's what got me. It was that you heard that, and I was like, oh, damn it. But, I've met people who've never seen Spider-Man. Obviously, they heard it, but they all know the song. Like, they can hum it or have to sing it, and you're like, it's amazing. And that's
one of the best theme songs ever, yes.
It is. But that's what is so sad. When you see what they could make when they put their minds to it and their heart to it, or maybe it's just for cash, whatever their reasons, all of them, but they can make something great. And it's so depressing when you see the other direct that comes out.
I'm still really jealous for everyone that can actually watch it in cinema.
Why?
Yeah, so am I.
Yeah, because these two are in Norway and it hasn't opened there yet.
Yeah, it was supposed to open on the 15th, so like the day before it opened in the US. But Sony and the local distributor decided that our authorities' lockdown restrictions, which meant that a maximum of 50 people can attend each screen, were just a little bit too strict. So they decided we're just going to delay the whole thing until January. They did that like less than 24 hours before it was supposed to premiere. What's so frustrating is that every single cinema had already signaled that we're going to compensate by really increasing the number of screenings.
Yeah, and actually, take this with a grain of salt, but I have a friend who works at the cinema, and they actually have talked about maybe delaying it a little bit more.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah,
really?
they have talked about it.
Will they stream it if it's not played in the cinema?
Nope.
No.
They're not going to do
No,
a
but
special
by the
stream
time you
here.
guys
It'll be
get it, it'll
released
be
the same time as everywhere else.
I was just going
No,
to say,
I
yeah,
thought for Europe. I thought for Europe. I'm sorry, Tom. I didn't mean to-
No, it's the same kind of stream everywhere else. It just means that the Norwegians will be missing out on the theatrical run altogether. And you know what? I'm glad. I think that all Norwegians should boycott the movie at this point, just
Okay.
because one is treated so badly when
Right.
when it comes. I think and it has nothing to do with the movie itself.
Right. You're talking about
It's
the
just to
lockdown.
It's just to send the local distributor a signal. When you treat your audience this shit,
I agree.
then there's no reason to see this movie.
And they did it the day
for
before.
Norwegians. Everyone else, go see it, enjoy it, support.
That doesn't make
there
any
is a
sense.
video on Midnight's Edge After Dark that actually explains all this. If you want me to share the link.
But this kind of extremely poor customer service and like outright disrespect towards the hard-hitting audience that really want to go see this movie, I don't think anyone should see it when it is released in Norway. Then you can wait for streaming, you can wait for the whole media release. Just face it, the experience is already ruined.
Right.
It is.
Of course, because they're tainting it with their policy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the worst thing is that they did it before the premiere, like the day before the premiere, and that really sucked.
Sorry about that. Damn.
Yeah, the whole thing is like, what's the
Well,
point?
it was literally
There's
like
no way
hours.
to not know what's going to happen in it. I mean, and the fact is that didn't you already pay for your tickets when they're like, no,
yeah, absolutely.
I was gonna say,
what the
wasn't
hell
it
is that
hours?
shit?
Yeah, hours before your screening, they canceled it, didn't they?
Yeah.
So I'm going to make a crazy prediction. We don't need to clip this one, but just like a crazy prediction. I think that Spider-Man is actually going to serve as the great normalizer for 2022 worldwide. I think that the pressures that we've all been under for 2 years, that I certainly believe there are some people would like the pressures to continue indefinitely.
Yeah.
I think they're invested in it, both in power and just normal people. Some people just like things the way they are. Most of us don't. And I think the cultural pressure that's going to, already we're seeing that when Spider-Man, when people were making predictions for Spider-Man, all the trades, comments were like, it's just going to kill people. People can go to the theater. They're all going to die, right? And they're absolutely outraged that people are continuing to go to the theater. And now people in Norway will be like, you know what? You're ruining my life, man. Maybe we should start talking about broadly, not just beyond this movie, how you're organizing and handling the situation. Spider-Man is going to accelerate this conversation that we've needed to have for a very long time.
I agree. I agree. I'm praying. From your lips to God's ears, but I'm praying that this is it, because otherwise, could you imagine another year or so of what we've been going through?
Well, and it takes time for Hollywood to catch up anyway. But I know we're going to be losing.
Yeah, I'm taking off.
And Willie Woodward actually had a super chat that was addressed to you, as well as this one on the screen now. Says, I want to send thanks to holiday greetings to the Grand Pumbaa, Andre, your friendly neighborhood Tom, the lovely who has a beautiful smile, esteemed filmmaker Mr. Tom Konkle, supreme seer of cinema Cameron, and the chat. Well, thank you so much, Willie, and Merry Christmas to you. And then Mags also says, with a very generous $25 super chat here, Merry Christmas, peace and joy and love to Andre, Tom, Kamran Pasha, George, and the rest of the panel, to the awesome chat and fellow mods. And thank you guys so much for being here. We appreciate it. And if we do accidentally happen to miss any for Cameron, we will save them for the next time he's here with us. We do our best to anyway. So with that, do check out Cameron's Patreon, correct?
Yeah. That is in the description.
Absolutely. I'll drop it as well in the chat before I go. But yeah, first of all, thank you all for bringing me on here. It's while I was grumbling, I was like, Christmas Eve, I gotta wake up in the morning. It ended up being a really lovely chat with really lovely people, and it energized me for the day and for this Christmas weekend. So I just want to wish everyone watching a very happy, very Merry Christmas from your Muslim brother. Let us remember the spirit of what this means, is that it's a time of peace and goodwill to man, but also a time where we are reminded that all things are possible, where there's magic in the universe, where not everything has to make sense, and we should flow with it. I think that's the deepest origin of the Christmas story, that there is wonder in this cosmos. And so I'm glad to be able to share that experience with all of you. If you can join me on my Patreon. I say a lot of stuff I can't say here publicly, including very offensive things about major filmmakers that I couldn't actually say publicly, right? And but hopefully you'll enjoy me there. So everyone, Merry Christmas.
It was an honor to meet you, man.
God willing, we're going to do it again. And also, You also have to bring all your hot female Norwegian friends next time. I'm sure there's one or two. So, all right. So, God bless everyone. We'll talk soon.
God bless you too, man.
Great to meet you. Great to meet y'all both. Thank you.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah, let's move on with the super chats. Dr. Long Dongler, he sent us a £1.99 super sticker, and Who Flung Poo says for $2, Merry Edgemas, enjoy this too. So thank you so much.
Nice.
That is much appreciated. And then we had a question for Kamran from Black Wolf Inc. that we just missed, but we'll do it for next time. And he said for $5, question to Kamran, how do you see fan influence playing into the future of filmmaking? Will we have a bigger say, or will club politics reign supreme? Yeah, we'll save that one for him for
I'll
next
tell you though,
he'll be back.
I can say this. Well, I can say this much. Like with Spider-Man, it did feel like they were kind of listening to a lot of us online. I mean, I'm not trying to be all like pretentious and shit, but there's just certain lines and scenes and things that happen and things that are said that were just a little too on the nose. Even a little bit with the Matrix too in spots, but
really in the Matrix,
yeah, but that was just more probably out of happenstance. But
the fourth movie doesn't exist. Just like
the fourth
doesn't exist.
The Matrix being a commentary on Hollywood. I mean, that first scene designing the game, that very much was. That was the only.
That was kind of the best part of the movie. Have you seen it?
It really was. That was it.
Did you watch The Matrix yet, Andre?
Not yet. I will soon.
Okay, like there's this one bit in the beginning where that kind of kicks off everything because Neo's character basically is has created 3 games called The Matrix, and in the first part of the thing, they basically tell there's this whole thing with this meeting where they're like, yeah, we're gonna do a new Matrix 4 whether you like it or not, and if we don't do it, they're gonna do it without us. So I said, yes, we're going to do it. His partner says. So it's like, and they say Warner Brothers, the parent company. So it's like, it was like way on the fucking nose here. It was like that is like a joke that was so meta in for like us guys that totally are into that stupid shit like that.
And also, if everyone on the panel can just take a moment to check the private messages. Carry on, George. You were saying.
I was saying, do you not think that anyone on the panel, do you not think that what the Wachowskis did, as in a way burning Warner Brothers with the film, do you not will not backfire on them?
What was that? Sorry.
I was saying, do you not think it will backfire on them, on the Wachowskis, anyone on the panel, whatever you think, what they did with Matrix?
I think that they've done things like this in films before, and it was purely meant as a jest and nothing more. But if a company can laugh at itself, or if an organization can laugh at itself in the sense of, and not take things too seriously, it can be entertaining. I mean, I think that perhaps the problem has been that things have been taken too seriously at times when they should not have been. Like, for example, when you ever have a comedian doing a performance, it's meant as a joke. And yet we're not supposed to break it down and say, well, he shouldn't have said that. And this wasn't, in no way should that be the case.
Take things easier, go with the flow. Yeah, not be so stuck on every. Yeah, I agree. Cool. I like that. Yeah, because I was wondering, we were talking about this the other night, and a lot of people were saying they did it intentionally to burn Warner Brothers because they didn't want to make it. So I was like, would that have repercussions for them?
I think Warner Brothers probably knew that they were going to be mentioned. I would go so far as to say that.
Okay.
And it's not unusual to do something like that. We're going to mention this, by the way. So don't be shocked when you hear your name mentioned. We're going to do a little joke or whatever. And I think that it's just more publicity for Warner Brothers. No one's going to think or feel badly. But I do understand what you're saying, George, because of how sensitive things have been recently.
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially you hit it right on the nail. I mean, comedians, whether it's Dave Chappelle or anyone else, it's like, it's comedy. You're supposed to get under people's skin. It's like, relax a little bit. If we can't have comedy, what else do we have left? That's the one outlet that people use as sometimes it's good culturally as a pressure release.
The only person that couldn't get killed by the king was the jester.
Exactly. Jesse, thank you for bringing that up. That's actually even something that Robert E. Howard brought up in his Cull stories before he even wrote Conan.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, for real. because the story then is that Cull, or maybe it was a Conan, so I don't recall. Anyway, it was either Cull or Conan, and they're like complaining because here's a jester, and this jester is making comedy at my expense, and there's nothing I can do about it. Because this guy, he's like seeding distrust and causing people to be against me. And if I go and chop his head off, people will be more against me because I'll prove him right. I mean, that's even what like a Humpty Dumpty, like, you know, that old children's tale from like UK and stuff. I mean, that's what it's really about. It's the power of the media. Humpty Dumpty the king, he had a great fall from grace, and he couldn't be put back together again. That's the power of comedy.
Yeah, it is. It is. I always view it as a pressure release valve for the culture. Things we don't understand, things we have issues with, things we don't feel comfortable talking about, or issues that we do want to talk about but can't phrase it properly. A comedian comes along and not only makes you laugh, adding years to your
Blazing Saddles.
Right. I don't think Blazing Saddles could be made today, but it should be able to be
Definitely
made.
Couldn't.
Oh, they would flip out. They put a warning label on that movie. These people can't handle that.
Right, but that's sad. We would miss. I mean, there's an artist out there somewhere who has his version or her version of Blazing Saddles, and we're not going to see it. That's not good.
No, it isn't.
No, but we'll get garbage like Santa Inc.
Yeah.
Right, Santa Inc. I don't know how something like that was funded.
I think that what they did with the Matrix was okay. I mean, I'm not, when I look at this film with their new film, I like it, but I feel like it was missing something for me. Mm-hmm. I just was curious for everybody who's seen it here. Did you feel that there was something missing or could have improved the film? You know, for those who have seen it here, who else has seen the Matrix?
I did see it.
Yeah, so it felt to me more like a television show, almost like a deconstruction of the Matrix, and then Sleeping Beauty in a weird way, kind of like Wake Up Trinity. Mm-hmm. And then Neo Wake Up.
It had potential.
Yeah, I think
they squandered it.
Oh, I wanted to see, when I saw the Robot Wars, I was like, that's what I'd love to see. You know, and then see what humanity can do. Like if they finally won, okay, they go their way, we go our way. What do we create in between, and what happens to them? Does humanity destroy itself again, or do they learn from their lessons? Just there's so much there. I felt there was a good backbone to it, but somewhere it was just executed poorly.
I mean, I got a lot of flack for saying it was better than 2 and 3, but I mean, let's be real though, like. What's sad about this, and I'm not going to get into too many spoilers, is it could have been fixed with a minor couple rewrites and a few other things. And yeah, as far as like, I think, and I bet we're going to find out that this movie was filmed in like 60 frames per second, and it just looks fine when we're watching it during the normal parts. But when they go into the slow-mo stuff, it looks like somebody shot it on their cousin's GoPro.
See, is that what it is? It just doesn't look like
I think it's because they shot it 60 frames and we're not seeing the effect of that unless we're seeing it in the slow-mo. But now if you see the proper 60 frame version of this movie, it probably looks like Gemini Man.
Well, George, you had mentioned that you thought that when they mentioned Warner Brothers that it might have been perceived, you know, in maybe perhaps in a negative light. And I think that when I look at this film, they just make fun of a lot of things about the entire Matrix universe, so to speak, you know, the franchise in general. And, you know, to go ahead and do something like that, I mean, we've all done that. And I think that they needed to kind of do that if they were going to go on this approach. But like I said earlier, before I wasn't on the air with I was on the air with Tom and Andre, but not with the remaining three of you. I feel like that the characters, the two main characters, didn't grow enough for me, and I felt like there needed to be that, or at least I needed to see that growth, and I didn't see that in the film, and so I feel like they've left something out that they needed to be a little bit
like
more.
There was no character development.
Yeah, I see that actually. Yeah, I couldn't put my finger on it, but you make a point because it brought them back to where they were in. Was the third one Revolutions?
Actually, it took it all the way back to the first movie. This
Well, it
movie
did,
ends
but I'm talking
basically
about-
where the first movie ends, kind
That's what I'm
of.
talking about with Trinity. It takes her back, like where she doesn't die in the third movie, but now she has the power.
That's part of the name, is it? Because they all actually do die, but it's that's
resurrected. It's just odd. I think R has a great point there. There is something missing. I didn't know what it was. I was complaining about other things about it, but maybe that's what it is. There's something.
Yeah,
It didn't go far enough, not deep enough.
I want to ask this too. How did you guys feel about the new Morpheus?
I didn't like that. And here's I can get into this and without it being too much spoilers, I guess. The way this Morpheus is presented, it could have and should have been Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah, it should see.
There's no reason it can't be. And
it should have, but the actor
and
was not bad. He just wasn't Lawrence Fishburne.
Right, but
exactly Morpheus was a different one.
Like, I enjoyed him, and it was just, and it's just the material was bad. That's how I felt about this whole movie. There wasn't a single actor here that I didn't like per se. It's just that the material was
right.
bad.
Well, the other problem. Oh, sorry, Jace. I was just going to say the other bigger problem than Morpheus, though, was they should have worked around Hugo Weaving's schedule.
They should have.
Because his character's role would have been much more poignant had it been Hugo Weaving.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyway, you were going to say something, Jason. I'm sorry.
I also, when I did my research, because I don't know if you guys ever played a Matrix Online game. Apparently, that is canon to the Matrix universe.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And you have to basically see the story in that game to understand what happens with Morpheus.
I've heard that, and I do know like the same thing with like Jada Pinkett's character is more set up in the game as well.
So
so take us through it. What happens in the game?
Well, there is a big spoiler, so I don't know how deep spoilers you guys want.
It doesn't bother me.
I don't think anybody really gives a shit at this point.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, if you don't want spoilers, come back in a minute.
Yeah. So what happens with Morpheus, at least, because I have never played the full game. I don't know the full story of the game, but Morpheus dies in the game in a really boring, stupid way of an enemy that goes through a wall thing and then just shoots him down, and Morpheus is dead. That's how he dies.
Oh.
We gained viewers.
Yeah, but not just that. Is also in the game they also started with some cloning stuff in the Matrix world of Morpheus, and that also kind of explains this new Morpheus in a way too. So it's like a lot of things in the game that
he's not a clone though.
No, I know.
He's
a program.
I thought he was
a program, but
he's
it's
an
like
agent.
in that world in a way. So they
gotcha.
Experimented with cloning things or making a new Morpheus in that game.
But because he's a program, he could have just looked like Lawrence Fishburne.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking. Like in the game he does, so they could have done that easy.
Why didn't they?
The big rumor going around is that supposedly, and this is a big rumor, is that in their last meeting he misgendered Lana, and I guess that pissed her off.
Really? You think that's true, or is it just gossip?
I don't know if it's true or not, but since he didn't get asked at all, and they did ask every single fucking buddy else,
makes sense.
Kind of makes sense, yeah.
That is too bad because it needed him. It needed Lawrence Fishburne.
It needed
He's an anchor to that. I mean, Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne.
Well, and that's kind of what bothered me and what could have made this a good movie, because had you had that aspect of it, you could have had the whole thing being about these people trying to refine themselves after the Matrix has, basically drugged them into this like existence that they're in now. And that should have been what the movie was about, is almost like the opposite of the first film where it was Trinity pulling Neo out of the Matrix. It should have been Neo needing to convince Trinity herself through that, the two of them, coming back out of the Matrix. And you could have set yourself up for all kinds of movies and adventures. But no, like, I don't know if I agree with the whole, like, going back to the, I don't know if I agree with or believe that Lana did this just to sabotage the Matrix. It makes no sense.
Okay.
Because like Warner Brothers, I don't know if they have any like obligation to them, because they own the Matrix, right? Like, as far as I know. And that's another thing that I heard a rumbling of, is the whole reason this movie happened was so they could hang on to the fucking rights.
Which one, Warner Brothers or the Wachowskis?
Warner Brothers. Yeah. because here we are 20 some years, so there's probably some situation where the rights are probably, and Andre and I know that shit all too well.
See, that's what I've never understood in some of those situations. Is it the studio?
Well, and somebody who could possibly answer that.
Wachowskis?
Well, and here's somebody who could possibly answer that for us, Mr. Script Doctor himself.
Hey,
Merry
sure.
Christmas!
Wow,
Merry
My
Christmas!
favorite
I made
doctor
it.
in the
Christmas,
world.
Hello.
Hello,
How's it going,
Script.
everybody?
Greetings.
to
Thanks
see
for
you.
joining
Hello.
us.
Yeah, I just got home from a half day at work, so holiday season has begun for me.
All right.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
So yeah,
I'm glad to have
could
you
this
here.
possibly be a rights grab, or who's got the rights around the Matrix?
Who's got the rights around the Matrix? That's a good question. I'm not sure. I thought the Wachowskis had a good piece of it.
Well, that's what I'm saying though. Could this movie? Because somebody had said something to me about this possibility. This movie only happened just so that Warner Brothers could retain the rights and they wouldn't revert back to the Wachowskis.
Mm.
I wish I knew something of that deal. That's a little bit before my time on the intimate side of things, and not really much talked about when I started working there.
Well, and it was kind of explained to me this way, and that was this might be one of the reasons why the other one walked away, was that they knew the rights were going to revert, but they didn't know if they could get anybody to give them any deals anymore because all their movies flop, and this was money in their pocket, and Lana was willing to go along with it. The other one wasn't. So,
well, I remember the other one saying that the characters were kind of allegorical to their parents, and with them having recently passed,
that was Lana, yeah,
that one of them just didn't want to go back to that world again, which I understand.
That was the public excuse, yes,
That
which
is the
makes
public
sense, yes.
Yeah. But again, like as you guys mentioned on Comics Division's channel last night, I mean, it kind of feels like it's, you know, a tongue-in-cheek troll to the very concept of like the remake and the reboot,
Right.
and the social commentary. But at the same time, it wasn't. I didn't think it was effectively done. I fell asleep an hour into the movie and woke up 10 hours later. It just knocked me the heck out.
You got sucked into the Matrix.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, that's a sign of quality when it's able to knock you out.
I do hate to interrupt this though, but Arm does have to leave us. So I want to say Merry Christmas to Arm. Check out her channel and the Burn Network, of course. Anything else you want to plug before you head out the door with Grogu?
No, just I hope you all have a wonderful holiday, and it's always so great streaming with all of you. Nice to meet you, Jason, George, and it's just such a pleasure to spend Christmas Eve with you, fine gentlemen. And for everybody who's watching, thank you as well, and just be kind to one another.
Yes, indeed.
Great to meet you. Great to meet you.
Take
Yes,
care,
and you can
everybody.
also catch her once in a while on joining us on Toxic Femininity. So take care of yourself, Arm, and have a happy holiday. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Merry
Christmas,
Christmas.
everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Father Christmas, give us some money.
Script. I was going to ask you. I'd asked Tom, and Tom was talking about it. Do you think
Sorry.
this? It didn't feel like a film. I was saying it felt more like a television show, and he was saying maybe it was shot in 60 frames per second.
Yeah, I think so, because
Like a
most
soap
of the movie.
opera?
Yeah, most of the movie looks fine, but this was the same situation with Gemini Man and The Hobbit, because the Blu-ray you only get it in 24 frames per second. So to us, it's going to look like a 24 frame per second film. But if you went to see it in the theater in the 60 frame per second, it looked like a soap opera. You can actually go and see shots of scenes from Gemini Man on YouTube in 60 frames per second and see what I'm talking about. So what I'm thinking is they probably did shoot because the Wachowskis and Warner Brothers, they probably put a lot of money into this movie as far as because it did look good as far as the 4K presentation on HBO Max when it was the normal stuff. But as soon as they would go into the action sequences where things were slowed down, it looked like GoPro footage. And I'm curious. I'm like, wait a minute. If there was a frame differentiation and they were doing slow-mo here, we would be able to see the 60 frame per second effect in slow motion, but not during the 24 frames per second presentation, which if you're somebody who knows anything about that kind of stuff, it would make sense. But to everybody else right now, I sound like an alien. So basically what I'm saying is since we watch it on our normal TVs, we're seeing it like we're supposed to see it if through a normal presentation. But if you went to see this in a theater, if they were happen to be showing it in 60 frames per second, it would probably look like a soap opera.
Okay.
Or get the soap opera effect, or SOE as it's called in our little industry.
It just looks odd.
Yeah. Well, there is one shot that looks really odd because I did manage to skim through the last hour of it, and there's a shot towards the end where Neo and Trinity are first looking at each other before they do their penultimate thing, and it looks like Keanu Reeves is CGI'd. Like they did a digital match over
CGI'd in a
his
lot
face.
of it.
it's the part of him like where it's where he's in the ship and like it looks like they erased his beard and they didn't really shave his head. It's everything. You notice it really around the eyes. It's kind of like an uncanny valley thing. It looks like it's a really good deep fake, but it might also be just a digital mask over top of him of something else, because he doesn't look like he's actually in that shot. And then when you see the reverse of Trinity, she does look there, like, because Carrie-Anne Moss still looks really good for her.
Oh yeah, looks great.
Yeah, I'll give her that, considering
But it was just really weird. It was the only shot in the film where I'm like, whoa, that looks like someone stood in for Keanu Reeves and they put a Keanu Reeves mask on him.
Well, and I even had. Oh, go ahead, George. Sorry.
No, I was gonna follow up on that. It's because I saw him in the Bill and Ted #3, because he didn't have the beard or the goat or the hair that he had in John Wick, and his chin was different, and that's what kept drawing my eye. And that's great that you brought it up. Did you notice? Because in Bill and Ted, he has something with his chin, like a little extra skin or a little
He's getting
sag.
older.
He's got a little bit extra weight.
You didn't see it, but you didn't see it in this one, so it makes sense. You think
Which
maybe
is
that's
dumb, because they should have flip-flopped. They should have let him have a beard in Bill and Ted,
Right.
and they should have let him be unshaven here, because he's supposed to be playing older here.
Right,
And he
right.
looks, as soon as he shaves, he looks 20 years older. That's why people keep thinking he looks so young, because he's been in the John Wick phase for the last 10 years wearing a beard. And yeah, he looks the same age as he did 30 years ago, as long as he's got a beard.
I mean, he
we
looks
learned from Bill
immortal.
and Ted that,
He looks immortal. I mean, when you see him with the beard and Wick, it's like he hasn't aged.
No, a lot of people commented on his looks in Bill and Ted, and I was like, yeah, they should have let him keep the beard.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, they also did
was
some like
muted with
makeup on his
accident.
face. Oh, sorry, Jace, go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I saw that I was muted. I saw the chat that I was muted, and it's my goddamn new microphone. But no, with the whole CGI thing, I felt the same thing when I saw the movie, and I haven't seen it at the cinema yet. Because they released the movie earlier, on HBO Max, so I saw it with a friend, and then I saw it again. So I'm gonna get my money back, because I'm not gonna go to the cinema to watch it. Watching it online was enough, but you have a really good point with the CGI thing. It really looks like it. That's something I did really notice.
It was just that one shot, because everything else kind of looked normal, where he's in the beard, when he's like in his cabin and all that stuff looked fine.
Yeah.
But just that one exchange with him and Trinity is like, did they do something? Because Keanu, he's in his late 40s, early 50s. He's got some neck fat, as what happens as you get older.
Like his 50s, yeah.
And he hides that well with the facial hair, because he can grow a really
almost
really
60.
cool beard.
Really?
Like he's got some. Yeah,
He's
he can do it.
57.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
he's starting to get a little bit of a vulture neck when some old guys get him. It is what it is.
And as far as I know, he doesn't Botox.
Natural.
So
yeah, I don't think he's done anything as far as that goes. No.
Yeah.
I
So
was
yeah,
just
he's
odd.
staying healthy.
Yeah,
No,
it was
and
just odd.
And I think the funny thing about this is, because speaking of Carrie-Anne Moss, him and her do have great chemistry together, right?
Oh yeah.
Like that's the one thing that did come through in the film.
Yep.
And it almost feels like they did come to the studio and be like, yeah, we want to do something together because we have good chemistry. And they're like, yeah, fine, we'll let you do something together. And like, yeah, we want to do like a romantic comedy or dramedy. And they're like, sure, as long as you can make it a Matrix movie. Because that's basically what this is.
It does seem like that, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
I
it
think
really
the
does.
biggest flaw too, is that the story is all predicated on a reuniting of the two, and there's nothing else. There's no other stakes.
Right.
Yeah, also, when I saw the movie, I have to be honest, I think this is like one of the worst times Keanu Reeves has actually been acting. I didn't think he was acting well in this movie compared to everything he's done.
I don't know if his
before
heart
this
was
one.
in it 100%. It does kind of feel like that at some point.
I got his struggle in that first hour. Like I was convinced about him living in the Matrix part. It's when he got out that I was lost, because he didn't feel like he had a conflict between who he was and who he was manipulated to be.
Right, because you saw that play out when he was talking to Doogie Howser. That he was I never remember his name. I call him
Neil
Doogie.
Patrick Harris.
Neil Patrick Harris.
Yeah.
And when he looked comfortable with a decision of like, okay, if I have to, I'm going to stay here if she decides. That didn't resonate to me like the old Neo, did it?
No, not one bit. Exactly.
Like Luke Skywalker, that was like the Jake Skywalker kind of thing. Oh, well,
That was such an old, tired, I don't care if I'm alive or dead thing.
I'm like, where did that come from?
I guess it came from 60 years of being, beat down in this artificial world.
Because in the original script that wasn't the Matrix, she was married and she had to decide if she was going to leave her husband or not.
I didn't know that.
I'm just making this shit up as I go. I'm just telling you, it fits, don't it?
I actually
blue pills. It sounds believable, then yeah.
Wow, I used to think their chemistry has always been good since the original. I thought they would be married or dated or something because it was just so.
No, she was married to someone else at the time.
You came in late last night. I forgot. You didn't see my little blue pills explanation, did you?
No, what?
That's what this is all kind of predicated.
You think because they're angry about the whole red pill meme that was taken from?
It's kind of a joke, but it's true. I said no. This whole movie it's a date movie. It's a movie about a guy who's got a date and he can't get it up no more, so he keeps popping little blue pills.
Well, the red pill looks more like a horse tranquilizer, so I don't know what you want to say about that.
Yeah, right.
It was odd. I really missed Fishburne.
No, I think them saying the whole like them trying to take the pill back thing has to do with the whole ending. I know we've kind of dabbled too much into spoilers now, so it don't really matter. But literally, hardly anybody has left since we've started talking to them. Only a few have. So,
do you think maybe Script knows? Do you know maybe why Fishburne didn't show up? Because Tom was saying it was because he
never got the call either.
Well, here's the thing. There's a couple of conflicting stories. One thing that I heard is that he decided to do MacGruber, the Peacock series MacGruber, instead of this.
Okay.
The other story is, and I actually looked it up, and the article happens to be, Tom's correct. Basically, he didn't say that he wasn't asked. He just said you'd have to ask Lana Wachowski why I'm not there. And that usually implies a whole bunch of other things. Either he was approached and he didn't like the script story idea and decided to like walk away, or he wasn't approached and he just decided to do his own thing. I'm leaning a little bit more to the former, because one thing that was interesting about Lawrence Fishburne is that during the sequel films, when he's doing like the tour and the interviews and stuff, he was talking about the surrealism of it and cool all the methods, and he was liking it, but he definitely saw how the audience did not resonate to the same way he did, and I think that's to do with the fact that he knew more about what was going on in that story than what was being conveyed on film to the audience. And I think he felt like he was going to be trapped in that same position again and didn't want to have to go through it, because there's some points in the press tour for the Matrix Reloaded where Keanu was just going off on a tangent of stuff, and everybody else around him is like giving Keanu looks like, what the hell are you talking about?
You mean when he's doing all the discussions about the philosophy and Lacarte and all that?
It's a memeable moment, and but at the same time, like I think
there is a third plausibility.
There is a third plausibility.
And that third plausibility is that they wrote his death scene into the movie and then they had a younger version come in and he took that as an insult.
Possible.
You think you mean something he would be that close to it and then just decide
here's
to walk
the thing.
away?
He's not exactly in the same shape he was back then.
No, he's not.
But they're supposed to be older, so that
I know,
matter.
but that doesn't mean that they didn't give him, an ultimatum. You got to lose X amount and do this and do that, and he's like, fuck you.
Do they do that?
Because he is somebody who loves, and this is well known of him, he is a food connoisseur. He loves food. So like I think he probably looked at that and he's like, well, I don't have to work out for MacGruber. Maybe that could very well be the third version. So I mean, I don't want to make out like he's some, he misgendered anybody or anything like that. That's just one of the rumors I heard.
Right.
But that all could fit in these plausibilities here. So we're
I just think not enough things came together for it to really work out.
Exactly. Yeah.
I got you.
Same with like Hugo Weaving.
But we do have some super chats to get through. So let's hit some of these.
So let's go back to the classics. We are a little bit behind. Those that may have had questions for Kamran, we'll deal with those the next time. And also on that note, your Muslim uncle says Merry Christmas, Milad Mubarak. So yes, thank you and greetings from Kamran. Stony D says for $25, hail and Merry Christmas, boys. Your morning streeps keep my day sane and entertained. Much love from this old hippie. P.S. OG Tom, is it true you couldn't see Batman 89 because you were grounded?
Yes.
Hashtag 20th century tragedy.
It's true. I was grounded.
Just like
Feels
Butters
bad.
in South Park.
Yeah.
And Nicky D says for $10, happy holidays, gents. Have you seen the trailer for the upcoming film, The Northman?
Oh,
If so, what are
Yeah, we
your
talked a bit
thoughts?
about it the other night.
Alexander
I love it.
Skarsgård looks quite intimidating as a Viking. See, this is what
I'm
I'm
Or other
talking
morning
about.
that night.
Everyone is asking me about this movie.
I like
That's
Eggers
enough.
as a director. I love that guy.
Me too. I can't wait
Yeah.
for this movie. We
I'm
will
excited.
be covering it in detail. That's the answer.
Oh
for
yeah,
that.
that's gonna be a movie that's gonna be fucking amazing.
And I love
I can't wait for
Skarsgård.
it.
Yeah.
That family, the actor
Oh,
Skarsgård.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Great actors.
Yeah, and especially Bill. He's like the best of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I even kind
Or
of
the father, but yeah.
Isn't the other brother? Oh, sorry, Tom.
No, I was trying to remember which one was the one in it.
Which
That's,
one is the one in Vikings? Isn't that a Skarsgård? The one.
Yeah,
that
that's
Well, Stellan is the oldest one, I think.
Yes.
Yes, Dylan is the patriarch.
See, that
father
was
of
the
family.
only issue I had with that trailer. Is it could it be confused with Vikings?
No.
Well, it looks like Vikings. It's supposed to look that way. I don't see that as an issue. Gustav
I
Skarsgård
was
is
just
the
mean
one
for
in
like
Vikings.
normies in the
Yeah.
public and all that.
But I still want to say that Bill, who plays it, I still want to see him as a Joker. I think he would have been a great Joker.
My God, how
Bill
amazing
Skarsgård?
would
Be
that be?
interesting.
Yeah.
You mean Stellan or Bill?
No,
Bill.
Bill. He would have liked to see Bill
Wow.
as the Joker.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. Wow.
But Gustav is the one in Vikings. He's
Okay.
so good
Yeah,
too.
good stuff.
I love his acting.
He's brilliant. I mean, what a family.
All
What a
good.
family as a whole. So,
All
so
good
yeah.
actors.
A family of thespians. I mean, and they're all phenomenal.
Like the Fondas,
Yeah.
except they're all phenomenal. Yeah.
Exactly. Or
We
like
have
the
some good-
Baldwins, but good.
But good. And they
You
don't,
know-
man, they don't shoot people.
Billy Jane, right now.
The best Baldwin brother is the one that's not related to him.
Right.
Exactly.
Actually,
Look, we always have Steven and Biodome, okay?
yeah. There was actually a film I saw with Stellan Skarsgård. It was made in Norway. It's subtitled. It's something about a boy's home or something where he's raising. It's on the ice.
Yes, I know. Yeah, and
Oh.
you're talking about like the island, like the
Yeah,
Buster Island. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Well, give me one moment. I'll find it for you here.
Brilliant work acting in that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
You know,
he's been in many Norwegian movies.
South Park got it right when they bombed the Baldwins.
Yeah.
All the Baldwins are dead.
Kontiki, right?
Yeah, no, not that one.
Okay.
That was Gustav. He's talking
Oh, that
about
was Gustav.
Stellan.
Stellan,
Like the
oh.
Buster, whatever thing it's called. Give me a second, I'll find it. I have to go. I don't recall.
Very
the
serious
exact
film.
title.
Very
Nobody did
serious.
tell me which one it was the one that played it.
The King of Devil's Island.
Yes.
Kongen of
Yes.
Stay. Yes.
Yes.
Brilliant movie. I saw that a while back. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a Norwegian movie. One of his many
Yeah.
Norwegian movies.
Well, anyway, whichever Skarsgård it is that plays it, I wasn't that sold on it, but that kid should play Joker in a Batman.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Bill.
That's what Jay said. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Bill. That's Bill.
Bill? Okay, yeah, I didn't hear him. Sorry.
Bill's good. I'm also for Macaulay Culkin too, because he's really good.
You
I
know,
mean,
you
I-
convinced me
I've
on that.
always
Yeah.
wanted Macaulay Culkin as the
Oh,
Joker.
take a look at him
Yeah.
smiling. It's
Yeah, I've seen that.
Home
He
Alone?
could.
Wow. I'm
oh
gonna
yeah,
look at that.
he's
Look at
remember
Home
Home
the
Alone is the
scene?
origin story.
keep
That's the
doing
origin
that.
story.
I keep thinking him as a little kid, you know, and that's stuck in my head whenever I look. I
Okay,
have
but
to look at
he looks like a proper heroin addict right now. I mean, he kind of looks like. For instance, if he imagined what his Joker could be, and if he sobered up, he'd look
Oh.
like the Suicide Squad Joker.
Oh, the
Well, I mean,
yeah, okay.
you just have you don't have to put the tattoos on, but just throw the green hair and the white face on him.
He looks like nuts already. I mean,
He
just
does-
go
he
and
can
look at his
definitely do that.
interviews. You just have to paint his face white, and that's it. Like him playing
Yeah.
himself as a Joker.
He's good to go.
Yeah.
But if you ever saw him in the movie Saved, or he was like that's where I first saw him as an adult acting. He's like he's still good. He's still a good actor. I was like really surprised.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look at that. I didn't see him. I was surprised that they got Skarsgård. Alexander, isn't it Alexander Skarsgård is the one in the Northman?
Yes.
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 Because
Yeah.
I thought his career tanked after Tarzan because I haven't seen him in much. since
No, but he has family connections, so he'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
But
a
yeah,
good
no,
point.
he's honestly the weakest of them from like an acting point of view. Like he has the looks, he
Right.
has the abs. His brothers doesn't necessarily do that. But for a role like this, doesn't really need so much if he can be stoic. He's
Right.
showed like some
Yep.
restrained anger. He kind of has what's needed. And with this director, I'm not worried.
Oh,
Even
no.
though Alexander is the weaker of the family in terms of acting ability.
And I think
But for
Juan's
this,
right here. I think
it'll be fine.
Culkin did clean up, though, just to be clear. So
Yeah, he
Yeah, I'm
is
sure.
cleaning
I'm
up.
sure he did,
He
but you
is.
can't tell that from looking
Yeah.
at him.
That is a question I have that I've always wanted to ask is why do you think Tarzan films never take off? Like they did well in television, but
They're just
They
outdated.
did
They're
take off.
simply outdated. No one cares anymore.
because Weissmuller, then you had
no, I think Jesse's more onto it. I think you got characters like Robin Hood and Tarzan and stuff like that are just kind of played out to a point. Like really, if you go back and look at the history, like in the last 30, 40 years, we've maybe had 1 or 2 Robin Hood movies and 1 or 2 Tarzan movies out of the dozens that we've had that actually did anything. And that's if you don't count the Disney movie, maybe. And even if you do, it's still probably all about it.
Like my favorite is still, was outside of Weissmuller's, is Christopher Lambert's.
I was gonna say the last one anybody remembers is Greystoke.
Greystoke's
Was the last one
selection
anybody
of
remembers
Tarzan.
really
Yeah.
before the Tarzan that
Masterpiece.
Disney did. Then they had that one. I mean, they had more than a half a dozen of them, but the only other one that I remember that flopped horribly was the one with Casper Van Dien. I think it was. That was in
God.
it.
Oh
yeah.
That
god.
was George of the Jungle.
No, that was.
That was Brendan Fraser. Which
That was Brendan
you know,
Fraser,
he-
yeah.
he-
Oh yeah, sorry, they just looked like.
No,
like
they
each
did a
other.
Casper Van Dien Tarzan movie.
Yeah, that was going to be his
you're
big
right.
solo
They did.
project after.
That was supposed to be
Starship
his
Troopers
big
to launch his career, and
breakout
then it was
after
like, nope.
Starship Troopers. Yep.
But he didn't go anywhere either. He just started doing stuff that went straight.
No. He was
Yeah,
he was the
kind of.
Jai Courtney of his time.
God.
Yeah, and he did
Yeah.
multiple like a battle. No, not battle. Sorry,
Starship.
Starship
Troopers
Starship.
movies. Yeah.
Yeah, and it sucks because I mean, like he was a young kid, he was a good-looking kid, he had a lot of potential, and just nothing ever happened there.
Yeah.
Just poor choices as an
But
actor.
we have.
I think he
a
just didn't
few
have the
more-
best talent agency behind
Or
him.
that,
to
yeah.
maneuver him to.
But we have a
He's
few
kinda
more
like a
super
soap
chats
opera
running through
actor.
here.
Yeah.
So let's do that. Corsair Raven says $5. Hey everyone, Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. Oh,
That's
thank
from
you.
Home Alone.
A Merry
Yeah.
Christmas to you.
And I agree with
Absolutely.
Purple
Don't make me get
Echo
my
that,
firecrackers.
Uncle Buck is underrated. I agree.
I have to rewatch that one. And Chris Brass says for
Uncle Buck was
$5,
great.
Merry Christmas, Edge Crew. Just saw No Way Home in IMAX. Best decision of the year and best Spider-Man film to date. Awesome. And
Mikey
you're
saw it in
absolutely-
40X and he said it was fucking awesome. He said it was like a carnival ride for 2.5 hours.
I mean, this is
Really?
just torturing Norwegians here.
Yeah. Torch for us.
I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
I saw it in IMAX. It was good. Not in 3D, but I saw it in Imax.
Oh, fuck
I
you
did
too
see it
then.
Wait a minute,
3D.
wait. Andre, you're Norwegian. Why don't you just go steal it from England? They won't see
Yeah, I
it coming.
have to take the boat though, and these days
Yeah.
they have like passports and bullshit.
And Alistair does point out that Casper Van Dien was seen in Alita Battle Angel.
Really?
Yeah,
Was
and I
he?
just bought that for Mexican Iron Man for Christmas.
Well, you have to go and check then, Tom.
Who was he? Because
I don't
seen him
remember,
several
yeah.
times. Who was he? He wasn't the bad guy. No. He wasn't the robot who was with the sword.
I don't remember. Anyway,
Oh,
Chris Braz, did we? Oh, you just read this one. Okay, so what's the next we got here? Thank you,
Well,
Chris.
you can bring up Valiant Renegades. Before
I will
we
do
move on
that.
to the next one.
I can
Yeah.
do that.
Hail to
Because
him.
Valiant.
Holy
says
crap.
$10. Holy crap! Still going. LOL. Merry Christmas, you nerds. Yeah. Well, and if you want to join us, you're welcome.
Nerds.
Hail to you,
And
man. It's good to see you.
Then we have Mr. Tickle Trunk saying for $5 Canadian. I hear this is where someone can invest in monkeys. Put me down for $5 Canadian.
Apes, monkeys,
See you,
orangutans,
baby.
gorillas. We're getting them all.
Yeah. And then we have Corsair Raven saying that Feige is a BITOO. You have to translate that for me because I don't know what.
Not sure what that is. Yeah, you don't have to send another super chat, Corsair. Just
Me
put
too.
it in the chat.
Just put it in the chat unless someone
Me
else
too.
knows.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm
I don't
gonna
know
be
what
like.
that is.
I'm
Duh,
sure
probably,
it's.
I'm
Sure, it's
boomering
on
out.
there.
I don't get it.
And then the Waltman 4 said for $9.99 to Kamran. I regret that we missed this one at the time, but we'll bring it to him for next week's show. To Kamran, as a former film college student myself, the one film that's been used as an example the most was Blade Runner. If you're teaching a class, which film would you use as an example? Now, I will say one thing that he said before. The Last Jedi as an example of what not to do. So that's one.
Yeah.
But as for what to do, we'll point it to Kamran for next week. He'll be back here on next Friday. So
What about Citizen Kane?
Can you bring that up real quick? I've been taking screenshots for him.
I think a good guy to look at is Kubrick, because he always did what he
screenshot
felt was right.
Yeah.
I'd probably look at Dr. Strangelove. It does everything right.
I know.
Dr. Strangelove is fucking awesome.
It is. That's
If you want to do Kubrick and you want to do something that's easily accessible, Dr. Strangelove is probably the most easily accessible Kubrick film that also does everything right.
Gentlemen, please, this is the war room. No fighting.
No fighting.
My favorite movie of all time is The Clockwork Orange, of course.
Clockwork
That's just me.
I'm surprised it hasn't been remade.
Don't give them ideas.
Oh my God! Could you imagine?
Of course, this is a
be
friendly
terrible.
call. If it wasn't a friendly call, you wouldn't have gotten it.
Right. But I also wonder why no one remade Citizen Kane after all these years.
They did in Star Wars Episode 2.
Oh,
yeah. But Orson Welles owns, I think, almost all of it for himself.
I was gonna say, I think it's in his will, because like even Hitchcock had certain stipulations in his situation.
Because he had a great deal with RKO at that time.
Yeah, and this goes back to a question that Willie asked us way back in the original chat about if Chapek would he release the 4K versions of the original unaltered trilogy. I am willing to bet that if they could have by now, they would have. I'm willing to bet that there is an ironclad something in that deal that they cannot fuck with his movies. I guarantee.
Why doesn't he want to release them then?
George is a revisionist. I love him to death, but he's a revisionist, and for some reason, he's embarrassed by them, and he doesn't want them out there, and he doesn't understand why we like them. To him, there's something wrong with them.
I love that. I have them on Laserdisc. Just my player died.
Right. Well, and there's fans who have done a beautiful job of restoring them by getting 4K scans of original decent prints. So they're working on Empire now, but first one and third one are out there now.
And you can find it?
Yeah, and seeing Star Wars like that nearly brought tears to my eyes, because George has fucked with it so bad. Not just with the little things that we always gripe about, but just the look of the picture itself. He has messed with the color timing and everything else so much that he has made them look so cold now and lifeless compared to what they used to look like. Because seeing them the way they used to be in the proper color timing and all that kind of business, it was like, seeing an old friend you have not seen in 30 years, right? It was just
wow.
It almost, like I said, it almost brought tears to my eyes, because it was like, wow, I forgot how good this movie looked and how warm it felt and inviting it felt and how human and just alive it felt. Because that's the thing, it just doesn't feel that way anymore, especially as you get through to like the first one in Jedi, or the worst that he altered the most.
Messed with it. Okay.
Yeah, and they exist. I think he finally broke down and gave the National Film Registry or whatever the unaltered version, but he will not release it publicly, because even Colin Trevorrow or whatever his name is even said that him and a bunch of other people got to go to see a screening of the original unaltered version at Disney, because they had to do the prints for the. That's the thing, is him saying that they don't exist. He's lying about that, because he had to scan them to so they exist. He just doesn't want to put them out. Period. He's flat out kind of said it. And to me, it's like, okay, fine with Star Wars, but this man sat in front of Congress and fought for the rights of directors to have their movies unaltered, yet he's altering two other directors' works without asking them.
Right.
Well, in the great words of The Dark Knight and Chris Nolan, this was the best thing that he ever did. You die young and be a hero, or live long enough to become the villain, or something to that effect.
Yeah, that's
that's the sad part. The whole Lucasfilm story is a very synonymous with his own story in Star Wars. It's very
speaking of Citizen Kane, like Lucas lived his own Citizen Kane. I mean, he fell in love, got his wife, they made a success, and then he got cold and distant because he ended up having to burden the responsibility of Lucasfilm and ILM and Star Wars. And he turned into the very thing he didn't want to be, which is basically his own little film studio, having to say no to creative ideas because
that's how you do the Citizen Kane remake. You tell the
George Lucas story.
Oh no, I've got 3/4 of that bio script written already. So
there you go. Yeah.
That'd be great.
You've done this without me?
I started this before I met you.
I know, I'm just picking
And then
on you.
moving on, Duke Dresden says for $5 Australian, I find it so hard to believe that anyone believes that Ghostbusters 2016 is relevant to anything. But they live in their happy place, I guess. And yeah, this is kind of accurate. And now
I would genuinely love to get into a debate with somebody who actually does love that movie and love to hear their arguments for it, and not go to like, oh, the original was this and the original was stupid and all that kind of crap, and outdated, not any of that kind of stuff. You can't go to that. You got to have actual legitimate arguments, story wise, all that kind of business as to why that movie is so much better or so good. I don't care, but I bet you nobody can do it.
My old co-host, he did love, The Last Jedi, and he liked the new Ghostbusters at that time.
It's a good thing you got rid of them.
Yeah,
you don't need that kind of
to.
negativity in your life.
Oh well,
we had a lot
no
of debates.
Accounting for taste. So
no,
yeah.
I'm not normally like that. Again, like if you like those movies, that's fine. And in fact, yeah.
But anyway, the chat suddenly stopped working on me, but I have the repository behind the scenes, so let's continue there.
On that note, Valiant Renegade found the one person. So he goes, so Tom versus Paul Feig. Basically. I'd even have Dan on my side, probably.
Wow.
And then moving on with the classics, then we have Planar Aspect saying for $5, I partly pre-ordered the Ultimate set because 2016 isn't in it. I think Sony knows that film needs to stay in the trash where it belongs. Very much so. Michael MacLeod says for 35 South African rands, Merry Christmas, you dirty beasts. Kurtzman's Spider-Man film made less in totality than No Way Home did in a week. And Matrix 4 sucks.
Yeah,
I think you
he sent me a message about that. I thought you got a good laugh on that.
Hashtag Matrix 4 does not exist.
And it won't,
you have any Matrix.
Keep track of that and let me know when it actually makes more than the entire amazing series altogether, even though I don't think he had anything to do with the first one, did he?
And then Chris Brass says for $5, Christmas Eve is a time for feel-good Christmas films beloved by all, like my favorite, Die Hard. And the Corsair Raven says for $2, oh, now you all like Life Day. Yeah, that came too soon. Says for $2 Canadian. And a Saucy Saturnalia, Happy Harvest. Thank you for that. And then the DCV Titan says for $2 Canadian, should call it Lowbrow Studio instead of that monkey thing. Pajori says for $5, don't forget Mr. Smith's sitcom from 1983, starring Tim Dunnigan, monkey-themed show. So yeah, I think I got that one. SDR Red Wolf said for $5, to quote TF2's Australian Sniper, it's a bloody Christmas miracle. Ben Wade, the nice gunslinger, said for $5, Land of the Lost. I still use the term sleestack to refer to people who sleestack around. Even make the hissing sound for whom it applies. I have to see that show one day, also the movie remake. And Darius Munchausen sent us a Popcorn Super sticker. And Master Clockwork says for $5, it's Christmas Eve. It's the one night of the year when we all act a little nicer, we smile a little easier, we share a little more. Quotes by Frank Cross. Dash Attack says for $9.99, thoughts on SJW's trying to cancel the High Republic video game Quantum Dream from David Cage. He is a progressive, but is apparently too problematic despite creating characters, for instance, Marcus and Carl. This is the first I've heard of this. I have to look into this. Have you guys heard of this?
The person who's in on that game, he basically also kind of said that all his characters that are women are whores in his games. And stuff like
that's
that.
progressive of him.
Yeah, it's a lot of things. We did go through it at one of our shows. We tried to go through some of the stuff, so it's a lot of things apparently that he have done, they say, but there's like no real evidence that he did, but it became a thing, so it's like they made a hashtag to cancel the game on Twitter and stuff like that.
And this was a High Republic game.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Yeah, we'll get back into that more because I have to research that more. Moving on with the soup chat, so because we are more than an hour behind, and I want to try to get caught up here because we've been running for a long time here. Eclipse Warlord says for $5, Merry Christmas at work, so we'll have to catch the replay. Oh well, as long as you catch us in the end.
On that note, I went back and looked. I didn't see what Corsair Raven, what the BTTOO or whatever it means. If you can say it again in the chat, I still can't find what you said it meant. Sorry.
Anti-ranged lunatic, aka DL, says for $1.99. I hope everyone has a safe and Merry Christmas. And yes, they'll say we
Thank
all.
you.
Hillis Mallory says for $2. WB is hamstrung by keeping Ezra Miller as the Flash. Oh, I would say that's not the top of their problems.
You want to fight about it?
Bad one.
You want to fight?
And Augusto Robles Mesa says for 10 Peruvian souls, do we have in this phase of the MCU is because at the time these series and movies were planned and put into production, Marvel Studios still didn't have the Fox, Sony, Hulk, Netflix characters. And yes, you are entirely correct. At the time when the movies that we are seeing right now were planned, the Sony thing still hadn't happened. When that became a reality, they had already plans like 5 years going forward. So you're not going to see any of them for a while yet. Well, actually, the Fantastic Four can be announced pretty soon because apparently the Fantastic Four will be in Ant-Man Quantumania. So they're going, that will start shooting. So they're going to announce it so it doesn't leak you outside of their control. So that should happen fairly soon. So that's going to be like one of the first Fox things. But again, before you see them, for the deal happen, it's going to be like, it was like 3-4 years. So yeah, it does take time.
Andre.
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to continue with what they did in Spider-Man No Way Home? You think they're going to continue that track? I know you haven't seen it, but do you think with the money
I know what happens.
Yeah, but do you think with the money that they're making, with the success that they're having, especially in the pandemic times, do you think they're going to take that as a hit over the head and go, we just need to return back to making the movies and remove the politics out of it?
I think it's going to take a little bit more before they remove the politics completely, especially in the Marvel end, because that is so ingrained there. You have to get rid of some nasty people that don't care about the company earning money because they would much rather be activists on company dime. You have to get rid of those people first. Of course, this movie does send a powerful signal because it has outdone pretty much anything else, but it alone won't make the difference.
Exactly. Like, here's my thing with this movie is like it could very well be that they're noticing a few things and they did make an effort to try and make this movie less woke. But at the same time, it could have just been very well that this movie came together so quickly they didn't have time to worry about injecting any of that shit. Like, it could have just been that
They'll
case.
still get a message from that, wouldn't they? They'll go, look, what did we do different here and here? We had Black Widow. We had
The problem with
Shang-Chi.
that is Hollywood never learns the proper lessons.
That's exactly you have to interpret. And it's going
the
to
Joker is
take...
a prime example.
Correct.
Like,
you can say more about this, but I submit it's going to take more. It's a powerful signal, but it alone won't make a huge change. Because now you're going to be more things like it.
So if you have Doctor Strange, isn't that what comes out next?
Yes.
Doctor Strange. Okay, so if it
Yeah,
comes out,
it's still
shooting as we speak.
And I hope the rumors I heard are true because otherwise I'm not.
They're
feeling
doing
good
reshoots
about that.
because they're doing reshoots, right?
Yeah, and the rumor was that let's just say some other characters were supposed to return from Spider-Man No Way Home. Now I've heard that before. I didn't know if that was the case, and I bet you it's more likely now.
Yeah, because I was just saying, if it's wokeified and it doesn't make money, well, then they would have their black and
They'll
white.
have other things to blame it on.
Okay.
Sam Raimi is one of those like normally I'm not worried about until I saw that trailer, and I'm just like, I hope this is prior to reshoots.
Yeah, so too.
Speaking of reshooting, somebody who works with a camera very often, Mr. Valiant Renegade.
Greetings. How
Hey
are
man,
you?
it's been a long time.
You're muted.
You're muted. We cannot hear you at all. Nothing.
Still muted.
How about now?
There we go.
I forgot to switch the mic preamp on. I ran in here so quick. So no, it's good to see everybody. Jace, great to see you
Merry
on here.
Christmas,
And for
my
the
friend.
first time in forever that I can remember, Norway is overrepresented on Midnight's Edge. Now that Jace is here.
Yes, this is
So-
true.
It's so good to see you again.
Somebody send me a plane ticket.
Well, it
It's
happened
80
one other
degrees
time, but
down
that
here
one.
today in Louisiana.
Oh,
I'm
God.
yeah.
We have the
I know
same
the
thing in
Norwegians are
Texas.
taking over YouTube now, you know.
Believe me, we have the same thing in Texas. Great to see you, Valiant.
Could be
Good to
worse.
see
It
you
could be
too,
Swedes.
George. Yeah, Jesse, Script, Tom, all you guys out there. It's great to see. I've only literally got like 2 minutes today. We're about to head out to Christmas Mass here in just a bit, but I wanted to come by and say hi and Merry Christmas to everybody in the Midnight's Edge community and family. God bless you all. I hope you have a wonderful time this weekend with your families and enjoy the holiday season. And that's it. That's good. I'm good.
We're so glad to see you. Though,
It's been-
just the
But same to you, man.
My head's spinning today. We
Absolutely.
got so much going on, so pardon me if I'm a little
yeah,
helter
no,
skelter.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure there's plenty going on for many people.
Oh yeah, yeah. I heard you talking about the reshoots with Doctor Strange and everything
Yeah.
coming up. I agree. Yeah, I think a lot of these reshoots that they're doing right now, as I said in the last couple of videos I did with the Spider-Man box office, which I expect to smack the $1 billion mark on Christmas Day. We probably won't get updates till Sunday night, Monday morning for the whole weekend, but I think the threshold will actually cross in real time on Christmas Day. But I think that's what a lot of these reshoots have to do with. I think Feige is wisely trying to piggyback off of this in the same way that he did in the reverse fashion by positioning movies like
Captain Marvel.
well, Captain Marvel and Black Panther as lead-ins to the final saga. Of course, this was the whole Ike Perlmutter situation that he didn't want to have these characters. He didn't think they would survive. So Feige said he wanted to have them. So he positioned them as lead-ins to these two movies to boost the sales, which worked to Mr. Feige's credit for sure. I don't know if those same movies would have had anywhere near the box office they would have had they not had the tie-ins. Now he's going to try to piggyback off the Spider-Man movie that obviously, to be all fair to Mr. Feige, had a big hand in creating, obviously. I think if Doctor Strange does not pull in somewhere north of $750 million, I think there's a problem because the first movie was just shy of $700 million. This movie needs to beat it soundly.
Okay.
I think if it doesn't, I think we'll be having a new conversation about Marvel going forward. So my 2 cents before
Perlmutter
Christmas.
might be able to come back into the film side of things because he still has a big stake in Marvel overall. He's just not able to have any say in the film.
Yes,
At all?
One thing to
Correct.
At all? At all?
He is effectively pushed out, but the thing is he still has much influence over the rest of Marvel, and the scuttlebutt is that he's really upset with the comic book side of thing and how the licensing of some of the characters is not yielding the same money as it used to. Since he technically was asked kindly, to put it lightly, to not be involved in the films anymore.
Okay.
Yeah,
I keep seeing, I wanted to ask Valiant this because you were saying how Feige's involved, obviously, Marvel. A lot of people that I've been talking to, they keep giving the credit to Sony.
Well, okay, so yeah, Sony still holds the film rights to Spider-Man. This is correct. Sony still has the ultimate veto power. I've had comments on my most recent videos about this, and I'm trying to. Yeah, it's kind of a convoluted web, no pun intended. But at the end of the day, what they did was, and I think it was a wise decision. Again, in all fairness to Mr. Feige, and I've given him some due criticism, but I try to be fair. I want to give him credit where credit is due.
Absolutely.
Now, Sony turned the creation of Spider-Man, at least in the new, especially the Tom Holland stuff, a lot of that was heavily influenced by Mr. Feige and Marvel Studios. Sony, Amy Pascal, Tom Rothman turned. In fact, this whole movie was basically turned back over to Mr. Feige and Marvel Studios to create. That being said, Sony Studios, Tom Rothman still has, at the end of the day, the ultimate authority, the ultimate veto power. And when it's really hard to ignore, although I can't say this definitively, it's really hard to ignore the fact that the most recent entries in the MCU in Phase 4 were what they were. And then we get the Spider-Man movie, both ostensibly made by the same crews at Marvel Studios. I mean, not the same writers per se, but the same.
Writers. Yeah, all
but I
three of
think
them have
that's
the same writers.
I think that's why people are giving the credit to Sony. They're like, look, we already saw Feige. He's not what he was, because he's gone into this woke era.
Well, and that's why I try to remind people that that's kind of a fallacy, because even though there is some power on that end, Feige is still ultimately the overseer of this stuff. That's his ideas. It's his.
So you don't think it's the influence from Sony that made this better?
Sony had definitely little to say.
Yeah, but not only that, I think if worst comes to worst, unless there was some specific notes coming from somewhere that to avoid the woke stuff, I think it has more to do like with what I said was that it just happened to come together so quickly they didn't have time to interject any of it.
I think
not only that, Rothman has that pattern of behavior between it's the same writer, it's the same two writers, and it's the same director. He gave them carte blanche with the first one, and it did really well. And then he gave them carte blanche with the second one. Now, granted, critics were mixed on it, but it still did financially very, very well. And I think Rothman was like, just do that again and leave me alone. And that's
pretty
what
much.
happened.
Yeah,
that's kind of what I've heard.
Here's the other part too. Within the studio system, Rothman will totally take as much credit as he wants to for that because it makes him look good. It makes Sony look good. Sony has not had a whole lot of huge narrative success in his time there for the last 8 years. So he needs this win. I mean, and he also needs to win with Ghostbusters Afterlife and doing the box set. Everything that Sony's been doing for the last year has been really good for the company, and they need to keep that going. So, they will take as much credit as they can, even if it's undeserved, as possible to keep them above water so they can keep going forward.
So the next comes into question. Sorry, Ryan, you can go ahead.
I was going to simply say, just to close out, because I do have to run, folks.
Yeah, we got to lose Valiant and Jesse here.
Yeah, is that I agree with everything that was just said. My only point was, just like Tom mentioned, I think it may have been something as simple as, look, we just need to keep this a straight story. We don't need to engage in, we don't need to inject modern social political messages into the film. Just make it a good character movie. Let's keep all this out. We don't want to do the rest of it. And then they hand it to Feige and say, do it. And if that's what Feige did, but again, Sony still has the ultimate authority. If Feige had come back with something that Sony didn't like or Rothman didn't like, and this is my only point to everybody out there, they would have said, no, go back and fix this. And they have the power to do that. That is my only point with all this. But everything that Script said, that Tom mentioned, that you guys are bringing up is totally correct. And like I said, I want to be is for all the criticism that Mr. Feige is due for the Phase 4 Marvel Studio films, I want to be fair and give him credit for doing what he did with this movie under Sony's tutelage. Let's just leave it there.
No, that's good. No, that's always good to be fair. That's good. Yeah. So you think Sony's next film is obviously going to be the vampire one, the Morbius. So if that does well, it's just interesting because I didn't realize. I thought Sony actually had much more control than they did, but Script was just saying.
They have control over the Spider-Man characters that they're doing on their own without the auspices of Marvel. But when it comes to Marvel, it's basically like Kevin Feige and his team, they pitched the ideas they want to do, and then Sony can either reject or accept. And so far, Sony has accepted the stuff that they wanted to do. The two writers, if you take a look at their history, they're not really agenda-driven writers. They're trying to tell a really great story. They do have peaks and valleys in quality, obviously, but they seem to have a good thing going with Spider-Man right now. And if they stick with them for whatever next installments are there, I think people are going to be really happy with that. I just don't know how much that's going to be the case.
Oh, we lost Script.
Well, on that note, I'm going to boogie out too.
Take care, Valiant.
Good to see everybody. Merry Christmas to everyone. We'll see you guys.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Jesse.
Merry Christmas.
Love you both.
Take care.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be starting one up, so I won't be too late tonight because it is Christmas. But I love all you guys. You guys are all awesome. Those of
You're
you
awesome.
Those of you on the panel.
Hey,
Merry
Jesse,
Christmas,
you're amazing.
Merry Christmas.
Hey,
you're amazing.
Later, friend.
Have a great night, everybody, and a great tomorrow. And later on tomorrow, I'll probably run one because I know not everybody has people around for the holidays.
Well, we got to do that Gremlins one. I'll get a hold of you, man.
Yeah, let's do that. It'll be fun.
We got to do that. All right. Talk to you later, man. So you were in the middle of saying something, Script, if you had your train of thought.
We have to resume the super chats.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. StreamYard just booted me out for some reason. But yeah, some writers, they might get a little tired of doing the same character. So hopefully they'll they'll be able to hold on to that, or if they do bring new writers in, they understand what pattern to follow so that they don't cause a big tonal shift, because that's the one thing that separates the Sony Spider-Man properties from the MCU is tonally they are way more sinister and dark looking than the MCU stuff. And with Spider-Man, he deals with dark situations, but he does have quips and jokes and things of that nature, and you kind of still have to have that positive feeling when you leave a Spider-Man film, like, damn, yeah, I want to see another one. That was great. He did right, or what have you. And you don't want to be on the depressing side of things, which Sony can kind of do with some of their properties.
Yeah.
All right, sorry about that. Yeah, silly StreamYard.
Yeah, StreamYard has a lot of problems.
But yeah, moving on with the super chats, because we do have to try to get caught up on them here. Master Clockwork said for $2, Latino Batgirl, Hollywood kills another redhead. And yeah, what else is new? Varachi said sends 2 in a row for $5 each. First, he says, God Jul, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, Los Saturnalia, and Happy Holiday to all of the panel and chat. And then my 5 are Die Hard, White Christmas, Hogfather, A Charlie Brown Christmas, and It's a Wonderful Life. And then Tom, you have to do the name.
I think it's BRB.
Okay, fine. Rod Thunderheart, you have to deal with it this time, said for $10 Canadian. Hail Midnight's Edge in the morning. I just want to shout out Kamran Pasha because I am a top-tier patron, and he called me personally and advised me on my book. If you're writing, his advice is amazing. Yes, indeed. So everyone check out Kamran Pasha's Patreon. A link is in the description. Mark says for $5, another great Christmas movie is Tokyo Godfathers. Rod Thunderheart also says, Hail, Enemy of the State is a Christmas movie. And Mr. Tickle Drunk chimes in with Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is about family, which I guess makes it a Christmas movie. Joker Voice says for $5, Merry Christmas to the chat, wrenches an amazing panel. Thank you, Andre and Tom, for the inspiration. My channel launches next week. Oh, awesome. Check out Joker Voice's channel next week. And then we have Rod Thunderheart, who also said for $5, Hail, Andre, Tom, and sorry your names aren't up, people. So good thing you put that in there. But just wanted to shout Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. Andre is 8 hours ahead. Well, that depends on where in the world you are. Right now, it's 10 p.m. in the evening where I'm at.
It is.
Yeah, and Dr. Longdongler said for £5, I've enjoyed Midnight's Edge so much, and even I will spend money. Merry Christmas to one and all, and keep up the good work. Love to all. Oh, thank you, Dr. Longdongler. That is much appreciated. Slade Wilson says for $2, Merry Christmas, everyone. And Mexican Iron Man, our good friend Mike, says for $25. I want to thank you both, Andre and Tom, for bringing me onto the team this year, and for all you both do on all the channels. It's been a fantastic year, and thanks for all the friendships I've made and strengthened through Midnight's Edge and Meet. And again, Mike, thank you for coming aboard, for being such a valued part of the team. And what would we do without you? So thank you, Mike. Olaf van S says for €5. I want to thank the majority of panel and people I got to meet to make 2021 a better year. Being stuck at home for most of the year, up for a great 2022. Yes, let us all hope for that. Mecca J says for $5, Merry Christmas to all in this fandom fellowship. Professor Gray says, Andre, quit complaining about Spider-Man. You saw Dune months before most of us. Yeah, and that was wrong too. I shouldn't have been able to. It should have been released the same time everywhere. Because I was actually griping about that. But yeah, I was happy to see the movie when I did, but I really wish that everyone else got it too. I thought it was insane that they released it the way that they did. It needs to be released, if not literally the same time everywhere, then certainly within 2 weeks everywhere. And Rob Thunderheart says in 2 super chats in a row, "Hail Midnight Edge in the morning. Charlie Chaplin said he remains one thing a clown, which puts him above any politician, which tells you that comedy is based on showing the failings of the present politicians. Justin Trudeau," which goes to show that Rob Thunderheart is in Canada. And he also says, "You Americans need Boxing Day to make it a holiday." Luca Rock says for $2, "Keanu would make a great Johnny Ramone in a biopic." And yeah, maybe he would. STR Red Wolf says Clockwork Orange today would involve Donald Trump. No. Yeah, probably. I mean, everything has to virtue signal and do that today, doesn't it? Even like a stupid Netflix End of the World movie today did that. And then we have, or soon caught up here, this says for $5, "I'm still shocked that League of Legends and Netflix had an incredible animated show with female leads. How?" Well, evidently it happened. And Larry says, "I'm ready for some meat radio, please. Thank you, Tom." I'll be sure to pass that along to him when he's back. And Juan says for $4.99, "Living long enough to see yourself become a villain is a theme of our age. Let's hope we can recognize if we cease becoming the heroes of our own lives." Very true. Yep. And with that, I believe we are fully caught up. Yes, we are. We are caught up. How amazing is that? We can wait for Tom to be back. So yeah. Yeah. Before we round out here, what's everyone's plans for Christmas? For those
just as I got back.
Yeah, it's just as you got back. So George, what, you have anything special planned? You're muted.
I'm having can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm having typically we do really close family comes together at around 11:30 and we sit together midnight, have some late night, food, Greeks. We start eating late and then we'll have Christmas Day tomorrow with all the family. So it's going to be great. I'm also working on another video because I didn't want to stop because the week has been so crazy. The holiday weeks when it's just there's interruption after interruption, but I'm looking forward. I get to see my sister, my nieces, cousins, and stuff like that. Big Greek family. So we're really loud. You get to have your pasticho, which is kind of like a lasagna next to your turkey or your ham. It's always fun.
Nice. Very cool. Script, how about you?
Well, my girlfriend is an hour away. She's coming home from visiting her family for the holidays, and we're spending our first full proper Christmas together. So tonight we're going to be watching Home Alone and Die Hard. Don't know what order yet. And then tomorrow we're just going to be kind of staying in for a while. And then Sunday afternoon is all the family and my part of the family. We're all meeting up. And then, I'm on vacation for the rest of that week, and then unfortunately my girlfriend has to go back to work Monday. So I'll be working on some YouTube content and getting back into the swing of that with this respite I have from my day job.
All right, cool.
Die Hard sounds like fun. I think I want to watch that later.
Yeah. Jace, how about you? Any other cool plans for the next week?
No, not really. Just make some videos behind the scenes and do the normal things that I normally do. Unfortunately, my dad doesn't have a car and he's sick, so we can't meet up for Christmas or New Year's or anything because the rules that they have. But other than that, just gonna spend it home, talk with friends, do what I normally do. So it's not that much exciting. But other than that, before we wrap up, there's always something I always say before we end streams. I just want everyone in the chat to remember life's too short, make the most of it. And I want everyone in the chat to remember that if it wasn't for everyone that are watching us, supporting us, and everything like that, we in this panel and this whole fellowship gives a big thank you to everyone who's been supporting us the whole way. And we love all of you with the bottom of our hearts. So thank you.
Yes.
Very nicely said.
Words.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for
yeah.
any message from Professor Gray. The only one that I saw here was about Dune, which we got to. I'm looking for something else about plans, but I can't see that there is anything. Where was this message?
Let me double check the Mead chat here. Because yeah, we haven't had anything in the Mead chat either.
Yeah, for those wondering, that's where we
did get one
catch
from
the
Ruben
members
Christopher
back.
Haynes otherwise, but did we grab that one already or no?
No, do it again just to play it safe.
Ruben Christopher Haynes at the Viking level said, Merry Christmas Eve. Thanks all for keeping me company on this special time of year. Please keep those that are alone and sick at holidays in your prayers. Know that you all help and soothe my pain. And thank you for that message, Christopher Haynes. Yeah, Ruben Christopher Haynes. Yeah, I think that's the only other member chat we've had though. So
yeah, and there's no super chat, no other super chat from Professor Gray. So you have
check
to put
your
that one...
your PayPal. I'll check mine real quick too, because I know Willie sent one to yours. I think that's where that message came from.
But we got that one already.
I know that, but I'm just saying double check. Just double check. But yeah, if not, yeah, I didn't see another one from. I only remember the one from Professor Gray, but I left here a few minutes ago, and I don't have anything in mind either. So, you sure it went through, Professor Gray?
Yeah, because we don't see any Christmas plan message here, but just feel free to repeat it here in the regular chats. But
in the meantime, we can continue the Christmas plans. I think we grabbed Jace and George so far, right? Did we get to script, or I think you did?
Yep.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah.
George. So it's just me and Andre. Well, you're looking at him.
Yeah.
No, it does look.
I hope to be streaming with one of y'all. I want to do it. After family, again, big Greek family. There's going to be someone who's going to get upset. So it's like.
I just shared a link.
Time bomb, yeah.
I shared the link to Culture Casino's channel. He's doing the pre-flight right now. If you guys head over there, tell him Midnight's Edge sent you. I looks like I might be doing some karaoke later with Polly over on Latino Slant, and Nina looks like is going to join us and stuff like that. Other than that, I'm sure I'll be around here and there. So I'm sure we'll be seeing you on that part. And Merry Christmas to those who don't. Andre, anything that you want to say before we check out?
Yeah, no, I found the one from Professor.
Oh, you did?
Professor
Okay, great.
Yes. He said for $5, Happy Holidays. Going to try to watch the Star Wars Holiday Special. Just to remind myself that Star Wars always had rough times and it came back. We actually did get this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, now we got it again, and I'd much rather get one twice than miss it. So yeah, thank you again for that.
And I did get the message about Mead Radio. I will try to do that at some point, maybe later tonight too. I hope to do at least one more Christmas. I try to come up with something special every Christmas. I haven't come up with anything yet, but we'll see.
Yeah. As for me, well, I'm going to do like some family matters and stuff like that. Otherwise, Christmas is mostly over in Norway. So yeah. And with that, I would like to say thank you to every single one on the panel. It's been a blast to have you all here. Both Jace joining us on main channel for the first time. George, brilliant of you to jump in. Same thing, of course, with Valiant Renegade, with Script Doctor, and before that with the great Tom Konkle, and before that, and Kamran Pasha. Tom, am I forgetting someone? I think I got them all. I think we got everyone who's been on the panel today.
Oh, Jesse.
Oh, Jesse.
Yeah,
Jesse, of
was
course.
here.
I knew there was something. That's why I asked. Yeah, and of course, Jesse. We had a brilliant panel, didn't we? I'm amazed that we had so many people watching still, and so many in the panel watching. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
And there's
Happy
the link.
Christmas to everyone.
Yes, Merry Christmas. And there's the link for Culture Casino. Head on over and give them a Christmas surprise. Tell them we said that Mead sent you or Midnight's Edge sent you. And yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's do some marsupials in the rain. I wish I had a Christmas version of this.
Let's do that.
That'd be awesome.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given. Koalas in the rain.